As we continue on in the A-Square journey, we find ourselves here at a trip to the past. Here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, Old Atlanta, the 7-bar barbecue A-Square Cup Series. Proud to bring you the A-Square Cup Series here at Atlanta. My name is Kevin Young, and we are here to bring you all the action, as I will be here for almost all the Sundays A-Square will provide. As we are now in the middle of qualifying right now, as drivers are making their names and trying to find where they will be into the shows. And right now, one of the drivers that just set a blistering time is the driver, that 61 right there. Now rocking a red and yellow W machine, Josh Gaiman takes pole position momentarily right now. There are still some drivers to go, but he is de facto P1 on the board. So we look through the rest of the field here. Other drivers are making times. We'll cut to another, and we'll cut to the 22 of Ross Baxter. He just finished up lap number 1 and is now halfway through lap 2 here of Old Atlanta. Coming down the backstretch right now, he, along with a handful of drivers, have yet to set times, so we'll have to keep an eye on them as they continue on throughout the race. So as you can see right now, the 22 of Ross Baxter is going to come off of 3 and 4. Can he put a time down that will make his mama proud? Coming across the line, it will be good enough for 19th. Ross Baxter inside the top 20, and another driver just finished up their run, Vincenzo Icavazzi, just comes across the line and finishes his run. Well, actually finishes 2 laps in P30. So those are how the 2 runs at the moment are playing out. Looking to see who else is on times. We have Elfridge George and Briley Wright, so we'll cut to Briley Wright as he is about to start his 1 of 2 flying laps here. Right now, at the moment, he seems to be one of the last drivers to take an attempt, and as he cuts through the grass right there, that is going to affect his first run. Now, Briley Wright obviously is an open car, one of the few open cars in the field, but however, we at the moment have, if my math is correct, 43 cars on the nose. So at this moment, everyone should theoretically be in this race, regardless of where they qualify, as obviously not enough open cars did show up with, obviously, I think, some storms on the East Coast, maybe affecting connectivity issues, allowing some drivers not to be able to make tonight's race. So as Briley Wright comes across the line, finished one of his first 2 laps, and it'll be indicative of that little run he made through the grass, only going to be good enough for P38. So he's going to have to step it up here to make his second run even better. So as he comes up and through the lines here, we'll see what he can do. He has to beat a time set by Josh Gaiman of 30.81 if he wants to put that number 51 Shedders machine on pole position. So as he comes across through the dog leg, good enough to go up the, well, good enough for 38 to stay 38th, so he will not go any higher. And that brings us with actually one more driver to go. Bren Roberts in that 84. Had a great run last week, ended up getting a podium for his troubles as he tried to pull a fuel-smart strategy, but ended up finishing P2. And if you do not want to know who won last week's race, I do advise changing right now and watching the previous live replays, as we're about to spoil that in the next 3 seconds. All right, if you are now officially tuned off, we can say that Tommy Withers pulled a great fuel strategy, and he ended up winning the race, and he will end up locking his way into the playoffs. So he will be the 5th different winner in 5 different weeks, and we'll see if another driver can join that elusive first-time, well, not first-time winners club per se, but first win of the season club, as we've yet to find a repeat winner. So as the 84, Roberts comes off of 4 right now, did hit the wall a little bit there, so this lap probably is not going to count. And that will be indicative that it is now invalidated, so we'll have to use the second lap here to try to set a blistering time. And it looks like he's actually going to back it down a little bit slow here, so he's not actually going to elect to take the second run as well with over 46 seconds left. So that means pretty much session is complete here, as no other drivers have yet time. We'll cut the Toby Estes as he's doing, well, he was doing some practice laps, but he will also take it by park it up here. So that means we are officially done with qualifying, as we will let the last 30 seconds run out here. And we thank, again, just the top for sponsoring this qualifying session, as it's going to be Josh Gaiman taking pole position with Feather Place, Brian Dixon, Nicholas Presley, and Jonathan Adams being the top 5 here. So you can see right there, that's going to be the top 5 that will go into the race. We'll obviously go through the whole starting grid shortly when we do end up getting to the race. But for right now, that's going to be how the top 5 qualify here. So qualifying officially done, as we now move on to warm-up. So, as drivers will use this opportunity to get some last-minute practice here. As that's the wrong button, we'll use that button here. As you can see, 5 minutes warm-up. These drivers will get last-minute test, last-minute make sure the setup is good, or at least the cars are good. At the same point, this will also allow these drivers a chance to, if they have to use the bathroom, practice pit road entry and exit. This is their last true chance for these drivers to run around 160 laps around Atlanta. Obviously, Markowski looks like he's dealing with a little connection issue, so he will now head out onto the track now. Obviously, like I was alluding to, there are some light storms obviously plaguing the East Coast right now at the moment. So there is an effect that could be playing at least a little bit of factor in these drivers tonight. So we'll have to see if obviously some of these drivers are stationed on the East Coast. It could in turn have an effect where we may see these drivers possibly have connection issues because of that. So right now we are following Elliott Longenecker right now in the number 9 for Sunday Money Racing. He is one of pretty much a handful of drivers out on the track right now, taking laps and attempting times. So actually, while we do have the second, we are going to take a quick 5-second pause here, as I do have just one thing on the audio here. So just give me 2 seconds here. Do not go anywhere. We'll be back in 30 seconds. That just had to adjust some audios there. I had to go by in the iRacing settings to change something. Was having a little bit of some sound issues there. It was a little bit louder than I like. It was filling my ears, and I was not going to want to deal with that for 160 laps here. So just wanted to adjust some audio levels. So thank you for that intrusion. And we are now back with unlimited interaction, limited interruption, but there will be plenty of interaction as we are keeping an eye on the chat throughout tonight's race. Brent Roberts, even though with that poor qualifying run, is currently the fastest driver out there on track. Now actually just gets beat by the 17 of Kevin Feemster, as now he is the fastest driver on the track, but I feel like that time will keep continuing to fall, as there are a lot of fast drivers here in A squared. So as the 17 of Kevin Feemster will come in. Again, if there are any audio issues, any connectivity, or just let me know, because we are adjusting some things here, make sure everything is heard. Obviously, want to make sure I'm not overpowering, but at the same point, want to make sure that I am also heard correctly, and I think right now we are at a healthy balance, but do please let me know if there are any audio issues. So as we see the 17 on pit lane, we'll see if there's anyone else on the track at the moment. John Hagan, he now goes the fastest in that Smeal Racing Designs #1, obviously driving for Smeal Racing Designs. Interesting to see is obviously we've seen him last year run a lot of different schemes, from Taco Bell to the National Guard. Now running, obviously when you have a team and your team boss is a very excellent painter, you're definitely going to see a lot of good paints. And one car behind him is Edward Marshall as he hits the wall there, though. He had a great run last week at Auto Club, but it got taken away from him as an incident through the pit lane has caused him to get damage to no fault of his own, and took a race-winning 16 and took it out of contention. So he is probably going to be coming back for vengeance here tonight. Seth Wansing, the number 5 machine, goes 4th fastest on the board. Another driver that had a race to forget after having a good Bristol dirt, had a slight bump that sent him careening into the outside wall, and his day ended quicker than he probably wanted to. He currently is sitting P4. We'll finally see some other drivers here. Obviously our pole sitter, Josh Gaiman, 61, currently sitting 9th in the warm-up times here, as he's going to go through a puff of smoke. Michael Cheeseburger Lawrence, he was hoping maybe to have a sub. He will actually make it out here and make the 10 count. Let's hope his connectivity holds. Matt Verdon here in the 00. He had a early race last week at Auto Club, looking to go more than 2 laps here. Obviously, there's Blake Galloway and then 04 machine. As he has a ribbon on the front, obviously for a special cause to his heart. Can't really see on the side what it is, but if we do hear from him, he will let us know what that exactly means. But session is complete for warm-up. Number 1, John Hagan. He will be the fastest, as we will now head on to the main race. So we're here again for the Pannell's Machine Shop 250 here at Atlanta. 160 drivers await this track here. And these A-Squared Cup drivers know how to drive here, and they are going to make it be seen that they are definitely some of the fastest drivers here. But before we can get to the race, we're going to have to go through the starting grid here and see how all these drivers will line up. So as we take that off the screen, and we will now show... That's the wrong button. There we go. As we'll take a look at the starting grid. Josh Gaiman and Brandon Featherplace, they will be row number 1. Ford on the inside, Toyota on the outside. That will be row number 1. Row 2 is going to be Brian Dixon and Nicholas Pressey, highest of the open cars, that 94 is. They will file off in row 2. Row 3 is going to be Jonathan Adams and Lily Peltier-Sharp. Adams got a P3 last week, fastest of the non-fuel strategy drivers, and Peltier-Sharp will be firing off in row 3. Row 4, John Hagan and Ryan Pannell. They'll make up row 4. Obviously, Pannell, home race for him, looking to try to keep it going. Row number 5, Matthew Kent and Toby Estes. They will make up the 5th row. Row 6, Michael Cheeseburger Lawrence and Matt Verdon. They will make up row 6. Row 7, Steve Tucker and Kevin Feemster. Row 8, Josh Battles and Marshall Harris. Row 9, Seth Wanzing and Jared Merchant. Row 10, Ross Baxter and Jeremy Braille, one of the drivers that has found victory this season. Row 11, Alfred George and Chris Fleming. Row 12, Michael Joy and Dale Markowski. Row 13, Patrick Oberstedt and James Kerr III. Row 14, David Wright and Chris Scones. Row 15, Ethan Wood and Colin McDonough. Row 16, Vincenzo Icavazzi and Blake Galloway. Row 17, Elliot Longnecker and Gavin Hutspeth. Row 18, Davey Hawk and Austin Mongol filling in for Cody Pannell. Row 19, Brian Johnson and Briley Wright. Row 20, Nathan LaJoy and Bren Roberts. Row 21, we got Edward Marshall and Tommy Withers. And then last row will be Thomas Mellon, Nick Holland will make up the rows here. So we had a long race ahead of us. 160 laps await these drivers. And we're going to be in for a good one here. Stages, and we got this quick second here before we go green. Stages are going to be 25 and 80 as they await these drivers. Pace car going to pull on off, though, and let's get this race showing. Green flag is out, and we are underway. As we are going to come back here, we have a quick accident. Looks like Seth Wanzing slow on the apron, and it looks like he may have come in contact with Jeremy Braille in the 74. Was just about to come in anyway. You can see it obviously spinning in the back because I was looking at something, and you can see the effects as Braille is heavily damaged there. So obviously, while we were doing our little, basically, sound off, we saw an accident in the back stretch. So we will take a look here as that 74 heavily torn up here. As I scroll on up here, we will find the accident, so just 2 seconds. And we'll now take a look. So, as you can see here, obviously we're already kind of halfway through the incident, so we are going to wind just a tiny bit. As you can see, it's going to actually focus on the 11th Jonathan Battles here, so we're going to come up just a bit. Going to go to the 11th of Battles, and we're going to play it out here. So you can see here as he watches, he just gets a little loose. Goes on the apron, and that's actually not where the incident's going to take place. It's actually going to be the 19 of Marshall Harris. So we're going to jump a couple angles here, and actually we are going to go back just a little bit again. We're going to go with a nice eye in the sky camera here, as usually it's all telling. So we'll play it out now. So Marsh Harrison gets a little loose, clips Seth Wanzing, ping-pongs into Braille, and at that point, Braille and Wanzing end up colliding, and then you can see the rest of the pack getting on the brakes here. There you can see the 22 of Ross Baxter. He gets a piece, and that is where our accident plays out. So Marsh Harris, even though he was the one that got it loose, gets through relatively unscathed. We'll take another look, this time focusing on Jeremy Braille here. So obviously you can see right there, contact at the back gets Braille into Wanzing. They both go around, and you can see nowhere for LaJoy and Ross Baxter to go, as they'll both give minor collisions to the 5 and 74, respectively. We'll take one more look here at this incident, and we'll focus this time on the 22 of Ross Baxter, as we will go on board with the 22 here, and we'll watch him as he goes through this incident from his perspective. There, obviously, there's a little contact. Drivers go high and low, respectively. On the brakes, trying to thread the needle, and just ends up shunting the 5 there right on the corner panel. So you can see right there, obviously, pit lane, a bit of a crowded place. Obviously, there is Jeremy Braille. Obviously, as well, Mike LaJoy. He's now leaving pit lane. Marcus Baxter and Marshall Harris all came in for service. Seth Wanzing, meanwhile, I think elected to stay out. No, he actually did come in as well, but he pitted one lap earlier. So back, obviously, to the lead we go here. Obviously, we just got the 1 to go here. So these drivers will now have an extra chance here to go around. Obviously, Featherplace got the jump he needed. He will now be our de facto line leader with Josh Gaiman on his outside. Nicholas Presley and Lil Peltier Sharp will take up the second row, and then it will be Adams, Hagan, Dixon, Kent, Pannell, and Estes, your first 5 rows. Well, we also got this opportunity again, just to reiterate, obviously we did have to rush just a tiny bit. We have 2 stages tonight. First stage will be at lap 25, which is only a short ways away. Next stage will be at lap number 80. Other than that, though, we'll go over all the rest of the information as it is due diligence, but as we do always like to alliterate, we have no fast repair, so if the driver does end up getting terminal damage, it could be their day done, and right now, only car still on stationary pit lane is that 74 of Jeremy Braille. Good news at the very least, though, is he does have that win in the back pocket that at the very least will ensure he makes the playoffs, bearing he takes the full starts enough races in the regular season. But as the pace car pulls on off, control will be on that Jameson's 34 as we're ready to go again here. Green flag is out, and away we go again here on lap number 4. We skate through some cameras here. You can see right there, Nicholas Pressey going to get the jump there, and he will jump in front of Josh Gaiman as they file off front and back here. Ooh, look at that move by John Hagan. Going to get right behind Jonathan Adams, come back up. So cars are beginning to fan out and make moves and make lunges to try to find their way forward. As we see battling right there, Featherplace will lead that lap, but there is a battle for third. Gaiman's under pressure here. Peltier Sharp on the high side of him, and on the low side, you can see Jonathan Adams and John Hagan. They had that battle last week at Auto Club for well over 50 laps, and they will now keep it going here as we do have a car a bit slow in the back. It looks like it's Chris Gones. He will get a little loose off exit, but he will keep it pointed in the right direction, and no cars will be involved, and no caution will be called. Back up front, Pressey wants to make a move for the lead, and he will lead that lap in that number 94. So 1 lap led for Nicholas Pressey. Featherplace not going to let that line down, though. He's going to be on that low side. Ooh, a little bit of a wall touch there by Ben. You can see Featherplace trying to get in. Pressey also clips the wall a little bit, too. So Sharp and Pressey both do some minor extroversion into the wall there. But minor damage, no effects, no harm, no foul, and Pressey will get a move. Now you can see Sharp going to try to capitalize on that low side as they have a good seat in the house. We will watch on board with that number 1 of John Hagan, as he's got a pretty good seat right now at the moment watching this battle for second and third respectively. Looks like Featherplace is going to fall back 1 spot here, so put Sharp up second. Meanwhile, Hagan going to try to prowl forward here. Should be worth noting as well, fastest Sector 1 last this time by Peltier Sharp. Looks like at the moment she is on a flying lap here for the ages. Coming across the line. She will go fast as the session, 31.07. She goes the quickest, but Nicholas Pressey sets the fastest Sector 2 of the race. Further back, former teammates Gaiman and Hagen, well, I shouldn't say teammates, but drivers with a big history between them are now side by side here. Hagen on the high side in that green machine, Gaiman on the low side. Obviously, our pole sitters had the car pretty much in reverse here, and we have a caution, so that will neutralize that. We'll see who exactly it was for. I don't see any notable names. Looks like possibly Davey Hawk, as he's slow on the apron along with Brian Johnson. We'll go through here. I'm not seeing any other main notable names here at the moment with heavy damage. We're just going to kind of cut through here. So we'll take a look here at the point of where the caution was called, and we'll see if we can find anything. We'll focus on Davey Hawk, because obviously right there he's further back, but looks like he may have had a piece of this. So we're going to watch that Wrangler machine. Yep, he'll get in contact there with Seth Wanzing. So a rough start of the race for Wanzing, involved in both incidences, and that is going to be heavy damage for that 21. So we'll take another look again, and we'll go with an eye in the sky, as that camera never lies. And we'll see, did Wanzing, looks like he got into the back of the 21, but we'll see if it's indicative of what we need. So we're going to play it out here at a 4th speed. So you can see 21 on the low side, Wanzing coming on the low side too. Oh, look, yep, he got right into the corner panel, and it looks like, yeah, it ended up giving him a little bit of the hook here, and that sends a hard lick there for Davey Hawk, as he goes hard into the wall there. Looks like Wanzing was just trying to shoot the gap and ended up collecting the 21 there. We'll take one more look. We'll ride on board with the number 5 machine of Seth Wanzing, as he will have a good perspective of this as well, and we'll see exactly what he tried to do here. So we'll play it out here. Yeah, I even think it's more netcode, because it doesn't look like they touch per se, as 21 looked clear, but at the same point, it did look like he got into the corner panel a little bit. So, iRacing sometimes be that way, and that will be our second caution of the night. Obviously, not going to bring any condolence for Davey Hawk, as I would not be shocked that damage, well, could be terminal. Maybe they can buff it out. Obviously, it's going to come down to if he broke the toe link, if he ended up having any major damage there, as obviously that camera tells us nothing. But, yeah, overall, obviously, we'll see if he can continue on. Right now, Jeremy Braille actually has pulled it behind the wall, so Braille will be the first retirement here tonight, as he will be the first driver to pull it and take it out. Only one lap completed for the winner of Bristol Dirt, and obviously he'll be trying to get back on the horse next week. So Nicholas Presley will have control of this lead here. Obviously, stage will end on lap 25, so Pressey and Pelletier Sharp will be row 1, with Feather Place Hagen row 2, Gaiman Kent row 3, Estes Dixon row 4, and Tucker Adams row 5. Now, obviously, with the stage being so short, drivers aren't really thinking about tire wear, but we know Old Atlanta ate tires like a cheese grater eats cheese, or shreds cheese, I should say, as it's not carrying on the tires, and the drivers that know how to save their tires are going to be drivers to keep an eye out for here. Hagen obviously called this a playground of his, so we'll have to keep an eye on that one Smeal Racing Design machine. But we know Pelletier Sharp, she's got 2 wins last season, coming off making alt strategies with tires work. We also know as well, Nicholas Pressey in his Champ Car driving days, and still drives a Champ Car, is another driver that's very good at making those tires last. So overall, we'll have to keep the eye on those drivers and see if they can make this track their playground. Pace car is going to pull on off here. Control will be on that number 94, as he will now enter the pit lane. Will be on the control of him in the restart zone. Green flag is out, and away we go again. And Matthew Kent spun the tires quite generously there, and he will luckily get it going, but that will stack up that high line quite a treat and allow some reprieve for Toby Estes and Josh Gaiman, as they will not have any pressure. Further up, though, Nicholas Pressey is going to have a little pressure here, as he is currently being challenged by Pelletier Sharp. Sharp got a good launch there, and you can see the effects that is playing on her, as she is going to look to try to clear that number 94, and at the moment, she is clear, but he's not going away at the moment, but he will not be able to hang it on that low side, at least for this lap. Lap led by Pelletier Sharp. Now John Hagen looking to get around that 94 as well, as they battle for second. Look at Feather Place as well, looking to try to possibly make it 3 wide here, as he is currently sitting behind that 94, just biding his lines here. Pressey gets just a little loose off entry, and that is going to affect him. Hagen will get clear, and now Feather Place and Pressy will be side by side for third. By the way, don't keep an eye on that pack there. Gaiman's obviously ahead of Dixon, but Dixon, Kent, Adams, Estes, they're pretty much two abreast all the way through the back here. So as Pressy gets the bleeding to stop here for the moment, it still rages on as we get a nice little wide shot there just to show you how stacked up it is at the moment. Now Gaiman and Pressy continue to fight. They're looking to battle here for... Actually, my mistake. It's actually going to be Feather Place and Pressy. Pressy on the callback here, so... He's no longer sinking. He is flying. He'll now be back up to third position. Meanwhile, Pelletier Sharp still continues to set blistering laps. 31.07 matches her personal best, and now she just set a 31.01. That number 18 is on rails at the moment. The question is she able to save her stuff enough here and be able to make sure the tire fall off does not hurt her? You know, as we watch this battle between Feather Place and Gaiman for the moment, we also will keep an eye on the last spot in on stage points at the moment is that number 17, Kevin Feems. You'll see him in that shot, that green and white machine right behind the 12 Orion Pannell there, as we're still watching these two battles here for Gaiman and Feather Place and Kent and Adams. But with the stage looming ever closer, those all valuable points can sometimes be the make or break between a driver making the playoffs or missing the playoffs when it comes to points. A few cars get loose in the back there, one with the Monster Energy Machine, but they will both come back onto the track safely. Gaiman will get clear of Feather Place, so we do keep an eye on the intervals up the road. Nothing to report on here, as we've hit lap 18 here in this race. Dixon and Brandon Feather Place battling out here as Feather Place is kind of been going the wrong direction here. Had a good restart, good moment, and Kent gets kind of pushed in the wall a little bit there, as I think Feather Place was trying to come up, and he ended up giving a little shunt to Kent there indirectly. Obviously damage looks minor, so Kent not going to be too thrilled that happened, but he should be relatively okay. As we now pivot up a little bit here, as we now can see obviously the car I was talking about, the 17 of Kevin Feemster, currently last car in on stage points, but Ryan Pannell and Austin Mongold hounding the back of that number 17. But we have a battle, as you can see on the shot. John Hagen has caught that number 18 of Pelletier Sharp, and he is looking to take this lead for the number 1 for the first time here tonight. Looks like he will get relatively clear, and he will lead a lap. So put John Hagen in the lap's lead counter. He will join 4 other drivers at the moment. But Pelletier Sharp not going to go away here. She's going to try to answer low side here, but just can't get the runoff she needs. So we'll keep an eye on this, as we're also keeping an eye on other battles. Back to Matthew Kent here, as he's under pressure here from Jonathan Adams. So we are keeping an eye on all around the track here. Ooh, Kent almost slides up into the line there. So we have 4 to go in the stage. We're going to cut back up to the lead again. Obviously, Sharp not going away here, but John Hagen running the line he needs to run. Little tap of the wall there by that Chevy 18, and that's going to give some breathing room for John Hagen here, as he's going to have a chance to kind of run the pace he wants to run here without the 18 hounding down the back of him. Nicholas Pressy also gets in the wall just a tiny bit there, going to scratch up that number 94 as we see the cars blow on by. We're trying to find some good camera angles here, as Atlanta doesn't really give you the best package angles, as right now Pressy's falling into the clutches of Josh Gaiman. We have a 3 wide in the back there. Tucker in the sucker hole here, as Kent going to get past, and it looks like Tucker could be end up the beneficiary of receiving less 3 spots, as Tucker is now on the outside of the 28 of Mongold, and Patrick Overset in that Kroger 60 is looking to answer back. Steve Tucker right now last driver in on stage points. He's going to have to be careful here and make sure he tries to keep the car pointing in the right direction. You do not want to throw away a race worth of spots for 1 stage point, as he smacks that wall quite hard there, and that could possibly affect that 24. Cut back up to the lead to show you John Hagen coming to 2 to go in the stage. Healthy distance to Pelletier Sharp in second position. As you can see, Josh Gaiman has now found his way to third for Nicholas Pressey. Nicholas Pressey just trying to hang on here and stop the bleeding. As Brian Dixon from Bowie Esports, the president of Bowie Esports and team owner, Brandon Featherplay, is looking to also make a move as well on that 94 before the stage ends. So they come off of 3 and 4 here. John Hagen, theoretically, we should end coming 25-26, but if not, should be coming home here. And he will come across the line on lap 25. And that will be the yellow. So the stage officially ends here. It looks like Seth Wanzing, Ryan Pannell, looks like a big incident back here in the back. See if we can find the right camera. Yep, Seth, ooh, that's a bit of an interesting situation. Ryan Pannell heavily damaged. Seth Wanzing had to take evasive action. I saw that on the mini-map. So we'll take a look here exactly what happened. As obviously this was coming to the stage end. So here's Seth Wanzing, but I think it's going to be up there with Ryan Pannell. It is. Obviously that 12 is sideways, not the way you want to be. Obviously battling for last stage points here. Actually, they're not even technically battling for stage points. As technically, Steve Tucker was last driver in on stage points. They're just battling to try to get the best spot they can. So we'll play it out here. Oh, I think the 28 got into the wall there a little bit, and it ends up ping-ponging the 12. And oh, the 68 of Jared Merchant. Nowhere to go for him. And he will pile in quite nicely. We'll take a look here again, this time from a better angle, and will give us more of an insight of what exactly happened. So we'll play it out here. Obviously going to cut through the trees here. And we'll pause here. And we're going to play it at 4th speed. So you can see Mongold in the wall a little bit. Pannell comes down, ping-pongs into the 60, and then shoots himself right up into the corner panel of the 28. And at this point, this is always a bit of a sketchy spot coming for the trial, especially with drivers just trying to get as much as they can get. And you can see, obviously, the 12 come ping-pongs out and gets piled in by 68. Meanwhile, the 28 ends up, I believe, saving it. We'll just quickly play it out here and rewind just to show if he did or didn't. But, yeah. As you can see, the 28 comes off corner exit here. And he saves it. Job well done for him, as he will only get minor fender damage. We'll take one more look at this incident. We'll this time focus on the 68 of Jared Merchant, as he ends up becoming the second worst recipient in this incident. So we're going to watch out here. Accident plays out, and yep, just nowhere for the 12 to go as he piles in and gives a big lick to Ryan Pannell there, giving more damage to that number 12. So back to live action. Obviously, Ryan Pannell still able to continue here, but he is going to, I believe, elect to take the wave around, or at the very least, try to come back here and get something back here. Hide that data. Meanwhile, a lot of cars came in. Tommy Withers electing, as obviously we'll cut the Withers here in a second. There he is, the number 43, last week's race winner. He elects to stay out. He did not come in onto the previous pit stop window. Obviously, everyone else did, from Hagen, Sharp, Game, and everyone else down the field. But differing strategies at the very least. And Withers now will pit, so he must have just not missed the window there. He will now come in and take service. He will get off sequence in his number 43, as he will also miss his box. John Hagen took 4 tires. He came out. A few drivers elected to take a different strategy, one of them being Bren Roberts in that 84. 6-second stop. Looks like he elected to take fuel only on his stop, at the very least, or take 2 tires and no gas. And he will line up for his trouble. So maybe taking a little bit of feeler here, trying to figure out what his car can do. And he is going to try it on row number 2 here on the outside of Josh Gaiman. So John Hagen, Pelletier Sharp, Gaiman, Roberts, Featherplace, Dixon, Pressey, Kent, Tucker, Feemster going to be your top 10. At the same point, we have 37 cars still running. At the moment, we'll see if Ryan Pannell can elect to continue. Actually, sorry, we have 38 because Davey Hawk is actually still running as well. So 38, Ryan Pannell at the moment. We'll see if he continues. Jared Merchant and Jared Braille, the only 2 cars officially out of this race, with Briley Wright and Thomas Melnick not taking the flag. So John Hagen, where we've seen him a lot these past season and a quarter, leading the way. We'll see what he can do here with some clean track as he comes to the restart. Stage number 1 in the book. Stage number 2 on the horizon as we hit green and we start stage number 2. So stage number 2 stops there, or starts there, I should say. John Hagen will lead that lap. So Hagen and Sharp will be 1-2, similar to where we left them at the end of stage number 1. Josh Gaiman now third. Obviously, he went a little bit further back on the start. Makes you wonder what his car has in front of him here, as obviously it seems to be he has a good short run car, and he can save his stuff to make a long run work. So you may have to keep an eye on this 61W machine and see what exactly he can bring to the table here. Up front, though, Sharp not going to go away. She's going to have a good run here on the high side. She is going to zoom on by John Hagen as they are going to catch a lap-down machine up the road here. It's a 72 of Brian Johnson. As he was on the pack, wonder if anything directly happened to him. Not seeing any spins of note through the restart box here, so actually it looks like he hit the pit lane. Yeah, he had an off-track moment and had to cut through the pit lane, so it looks like he may have had a slight issue coming to green, and you can see the effects this had here. So as we watch the battle for the lead here, as Brian Johnson will get past, we may take a quick look at that if we get a quick caution here. See what exactly happened. But Paula Sharp will put a car between herself and John Hagen here. Meanwhile, as Hagen makes a move around the 72 machine, Josh Gaiman will follow suit. Cars will begin to fan in and out here. Punches battle for second. His car just set the purple sector 2 of the race. We'll cut to him. Steve Tucker there. So he currently sits in P9 as more cars fan in. We'll head back to John Hagen and Josh Gaiman as they're battling out there. Some cars struggling to get around Brian Johnson. You can see in the back shot there. But the battle does still rage on. Actually, we'll take this opportunity to ride on board with this number 61 machine in the Dubby onboard camera. So he's going to try to go high side here on that 61. Actually, we'll see if the cockpit get a better angle. Still nothing really we can see here. So we're going to cut back to the live shot here just to show the battle, and there's the pass done. And sadly, unlike some other series, I do not have the ability to pan with a camera, so when they go side by side, sometimes it can be a bit hard to see. But Josh Gaiman will get clear. He will now head into second position as they'll have to set their sights on ringing down that number 18, Lily Peltier Sharp, who's currently about a half a second ahead of this battle for second. Meanwhile, a little further back, saw a battle Steve Tucker and Josh Battles battling currently for ninth, respectively. Josh Battles obviously was a rookie last season, and he has now shown some great pace as he has really found his form in year number 2, as he is showing why Black Acid took him in the draft and elected to pretty much retain him for the second season. As he is hanging on that high side and making it work, as now he's going to try to move on and make a move to Kevin Feemster to go to 8th position. So while we watch this play on here, we'll take an opportunity to kind of talk about, we saw Brent Roberts try an alt strategy here, and now that we're about, give or take, 10 laps into the stint, if you're wondering how it's worked out for him, it's not done well. As you can see him right now battling Ross Baxter for 23rd, so that car has sunk like a stone, as he's now going to get passed as well by Gavin Hudspeth. So 84 Brent Roberts, that strategy has gone up deuces. As you can see also Seth Wanzing coming down pit lane here. As he's electing to pit. We'll see if it's probably not a scheduled stop, so we'll keep an eye on him as he comes in, as we're going to cut back to the live action, as we do have tons of battles to cover. Speaking of one of those battles, you can see further back, Josh Battles is fine, but the one behind him, Matthew Kent, Toby Estes, fighting for position here. Also keep an eye on Brian Dixon as well, obviously sitting behind the Bowie Esports car, and now the battle still rages on. Gaiman back under pressure here from the one of John Hagen. That gap between the first and second is now over 1.3 seconds, so that gap grows and continues to grow as Hagen will flip-flop with Gaiman. So put that Smeal Racing Designs number 1 up to second and put Josh Gaiman down to third. Battle rages on. Matthew Kent going for a high wall there. Looks like it's almost clipped it just a bit there. So he'll file back in line, but gotta be careful running that high side. Get a little too greedy, you can end up scratching something and in turn kill the speed of the car and possibly put yourself in a huge disadvantage. So as the cars continue to battle here and rage on their fights, you can see right there, Toby S. is looking to make a move on Nicholas Pressey as battling watching for 7th. Meanwhile, we also have a battle for the last stage point here at the moment as I think Verdon and Tucker were battling. Actually, I believe it's actually Verdon and Adams. So we're going to cut back there. You can see right there, this is the battle for 11th. 0-0 in the 8 side-by-side. Battles ends up losing 2 spots in this encounter at the moment. If he's not careful, could lose another, as you can see, the 29 of Mike LaJoy, who was involved in that opening lap incident. Got that Hartford Whalers machine fixed up quite nicely, and he's now knocking into a top 15. So we'll cut back up to race leader. Peltier Sharp obviously still driving away at the moment. Gap has now fallen back under a second as she drives that Ace Tech Sims Sport machine. Obviously one of the only few international drivers in the field tonight. Obviously the other one being the Bahama man, Alfred George. Everyone else stateside born, or at least stateside reside, according to their iRacing information. Obviously ABN is a, as you see through a lot of series, you'll see a ton of different drivers come from a ton of different nationalities. And obviously it is very early in the morning for Peltier Sharp, as she said on more than one occasion. By the time these races end, she is pretty much ready to get back up as the sun is about to rise, so she likes these races to go quickly. They turn into caution fests, as it's usually something that she does not look forward to. She drives away. And she is now also getting caught, as obviously that 18 was in the Final Four last year, as she ended up, I believe, finishing P2 in the final standings, as she was eventually passed and caught by the car that's currently chasing her down right now. It's at number 1 at John Haig, as we will go on board with John Hagen here. As he'll give us kind of a lap here to show what he's doing to reel in that gap. Seems to have a very good medium to long run car here, as it seems Peltier Sharp has a good short run car. So if we get a late caution, it could play into the factor of that number 18. But if we go long in the tooth, it could play into John Hagen's hand more. As you can see, just look at that run he's gotten as he's saved up his stuff quite nicely. As he's going to possibly be on the corner panel here of the 18. Now, at least on the very least, on the back bumper, Peltier Sharp will lead that lap. But John Hagen is a-coming, and John Hagen is looking to make a pass here. As Sharp really trying to make that a high line work. She clips the wall just a tiny bit, and that's going to be the opening the one needs, as he will zoom on by and clear the 18. We'll see if Peltier Sharp can hang on the back of that number 1, or if she could be in a bit of trouble here. So that Smeal Racing Design machine leads that lap. Peltier Sharp still hangs on for second. We'll stay on this battle for a minute, but we will be ready to pivot, as we do have other battles cutting through the field. As you can see right there, a little bit further in the shot, Brandon Featherplace and Brian Dixon, both Bowie Esports cars, they're trying to reel in that top 5. You can also see at the moment as well, Matthew Kent and Jonathan Adams continuing their battle they have been having. And meanwhile, a little bit further back, just inside the top 15 and outside the top 15, it is a pure 2x2x2. Noah would be proud at how these duos are battling. It's now 3 wide, and Markowski got on the corner panel of the 26. We stay green at the moment, even though theoretically that should possibly be a caution, and it will be a caution. Caution will now officially be called. So Markowski there, you can see the spin. It looks like, oh, there's puff of smoke up the road. It looks like the 26 came back up the road. Chris Gones. I do wonder if he ended up hitting anything else or hitting anyone else, as he does have some damage on that door side. So it is never a good sign, as he was coming through the grass, and it looks like he will jump back to pit lane here. So we'll take a look here, as obviously we caught the battle at just the right time for the incident. As you can obviously that's where Chris Gones and the caution gets called, so we're going to have to wind just a bit as he went monster trunking over the grass. So we'll go with a nice eye in the sky camera here, and we'll slow it down. Obviously, 3 wide doesn't usually work here at Old Atlanta. And you're going to see why here. As you can see right there, he just gets on the corner panel of the 33. That shoots him low. And then you can see the effect that has is we'll now play it at full speed. We'll focus on 26 here. He's going to have the wild ride through the grass. Goes low, goes high, trying to save it, still trying to save it. Comes up the road, locking it down. Oh, nowhere for the 83 at Gavin Hudspeth, nay, the 38 car to go. And honestly, at that point, it's odd because it feels like you should have just maybe lifted or just got on the brakes or something. But sometimes it's easier said than done. Obviously, that's why I'm not a race control analyst, as that is not my specialty. So obviously, that's what they'll look at later, and we will have to just kind of look at that line. As we have a beautiful shot here. We'll cut to this angle, and we'll watch it again here between the 33 and the 26. So playing it out here, yep, just got on the corner panel, sent them both low. We'll focus on the 33 as he goes through the grass here. Backs it down, he saves in his Youngstown University machine. And yeah, he just keeps it going, locks it down, and no contact for him, as he will keep it going with no incidents. We'll take one more look at this incident real fast, as a lot of cars are pitting. We will cover that in a second. We're going to wind back here one more time, go on to the point of caution here. We'll focus on the 83 machine of Gavin Hudspeth, as we will watch him right now as he will go through the action. Obviously, the incident's way up the road here. You can see him going through the grass if you have the eagle-eyed viewer. Obviously, right there, 33 keeps it low, trying to save it, and it just cuts up the road here. He's on the brakes, but there's really nothing Gavin can do. By the time you see the incident, you think you just keep it full throttle, at least slow down a little bit. At that point, there was just nothing to do, and you can see the effects that has had. So back to live action, you can see obviously there's the 26. He actually had a tow to pit lane, and you can see the effects that has had. As we see right now up front, new race leader is going to be the number 94 machine, and Nicholas Pressey. As that's the wrong screen, this will be the right screen to get rid of. As we now have officially one to go here. So Pressey, Hagen, row one. Should be knowing Pressey, I believe, took 2 tires. 8-second stop usually indicates a 2-tire stop. So he took 2 tires. Rest of the field elected to take 4. Elliott Longnecker, one of the only other cars to elect to take 2. And this is interesting because we saw it not really work for Brendan Roberts. Now, obviously, that was fresh. It was fresh tires as 2 tires, and obviously, you still got 2 on it. I think Brendan ended up just taking a fuel-only run. So this is kind of an indicative kind of choice to see if 2 can work or 4. Meanwhile, this caution really bails out Pelletier Sharp, as she's definitely a strong driver on short runs. So this is something, this short run to the dash here for stage number 2 should play into our hands, as we are going to be 30 laps in tow to the end of stage number 2. Real fast, we have 34 cars still running. Hudspeth and Goins on pit lane for lengthy repairs. Ryan Pannell still on the track, 4 laps down. Looks like Wanzing also on the track as well, multiple down. Hawk as well. Merchant, Braille still the only 2 cars out of this race. Green flag is now officially out. Control on the number 94, and away we go. All right, launch by the 94, but the 1 got an even better launch, as they will be side by side heading off into 1. Oh, spin in the back, trying to see who it was. Looks like no one else will get majorly involved, though, so we are lucky. Still trying to see who it was. Obviously, didn't get a good view of the car. I think it's Colin McDonough. It is Colin McDonough. So we'll take a look here exactly what happened to Connor McDonough. As luckily, we'll see if we can pull the replay. Obviously, it looks like it was a single car incident, luckily. As he's on that high side, I'm going to take a guess. He may have just got loose, and we'll go with another eye in the sky camera, as the eye in the sky never lies. Yeah, Scott in the 38's corner panel got his panel there, so it wasn't a single car incident. 39 ends up luckily hitting nothing. So really just a minor scratch on the fender and positions lost. But it could have been a whole heck of a lot worse for him. We'll take one more look. Obviously, this time we'll take a look at it again, this time focusing on the 38 machine. As wind it just a bit here. And we'll see again. Probably just hard racing, but sometimes it just happens. Yeah, up the road, just tries to avoid hitting the corner panel. They touch again. At that point, it gives them the little hook. And that sends them around. 38 almost gets ran over by the 88 machine. So we'll take one more look as we have this opportunity to do so. We'll focus on the 80 this time. I believe it's Ethan Wood. It's the 88, I believe. Yeah, but it is the 88. So we're going to watch on board with the 88 this time behind the 25 Frosted Flakes machine of Nathan LaJoy. And we'll take a look here. That's the wrong number as well. That's the thing we're looking for. And we'll play it out here. Obviously, there's the contact. You can see just trying to hang back. And, oh, he got basically screened by the 25. LaJoy went up. By the time LaJoy went up, there was a 38 right there. He gives him a minor shunt, but no major damage to speak of for Ethan Wood. Obviously, probably ended up getting the worst damage to that incident as he ended up hitting the slight back bumper of the 38 machine. So up front, obviously, with that point of caution, it'll shorten the run we have going to the end of stage number 2. Again, stage ends on lap 80. Hagen, Sharp, going to be row 1. Pressy, Featherplace, row 2. Gaiman, Dixon, row 3. Tucker, Kent, row 4. Estes, Feemster, row 5. Meanwhile, this man, Ryan Pannell, the hometown boy, has had a race to forget, but he will get one of his laps back. And obviously, he's probably right now at the moment hoping for a lot of cautions here. As the more cautions we get, the more likely he can get down here, as he's, at the moment, going to say he's 3 down if my math is correct. Is they're going to come to 53 right now. Yeah, he'll be 3 down. So he needs to kind of hope for cautions on cautions here in order to get back on the lead lap, because the longer this run goes, if more cars get damaged and put a lap down, that could put him 1-2. And how, obviously, if you are new to watching iRacing, how the cautions are, how the lucky dog is pretty much done is whoever is the first lucky down, like whoever's the lowest intervals to the lead lap will get the lucky dog, bearing they're not in the incident in question. So if a couple quick cautions come before someone can go a lap down, Pannell could put himself theoretically in the position to get himself 2-1 and then theoretically try to race it out for the lucky dog. Hagen will have control. Pelty Sharp will be on the high side. The 2 strongest drivers here today. They will have a chance to duke it out for the Stage 2 win, as you can see by laps led. John Hagen's led 19. Peltier Sharp has led 20. Other lead lap leaders, Nicholas Pressy obviously led 5. Brandon Featherplace led 5. Pressy's led 9. Pole sitter Josh Gaiman has yet to lead a lap, so he's looking to try to get a lap led here to add to his lap led total. Pace car will pull on and off. Control will be on that number 1 machine of John Hagen. As they enter the restart zone, pace car is officially in, and away we go here again on lap 54, coming to 55. Good launch there by Hagen. Battle for second raging on between Pressy and Sharp. Pretty much 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 here. Sharp will end up kind of holding out here. Now Featherplace looking to make it a double advantage for the high side here. As you can see, Gaiman's trying to find a way around Pressy, because remember, Pressy took 2 tires. So theoretically, going to try to make something happen. He will split the inside here. And you can see Gaiman will go around along with Matthew Kent. Cars just trying to fan around that number 94 here and do it quickly in order to avoid the chaos. Oh, look at that. It's a little squirrely just a bit. He'll jump back in. Contact in the back. Looks like it's a 28 of Austin Mongold. It is. He will collect Nathan LaJoy, but we will stay green. Theoretically, it was a 2-car incident, but I think iRacing will deem the cautions here. So we stay green. More importantly, battle for the lead and a battle for third. Teammates fight for third here between Featherplace and Dixon. We'll keep an eye on that for a second, but we're also ready to cut back to the lead at a moment's notice, and that's what we're going to do as Sharp looking to make a move on that high side, and she will show that short run pace as she will get clear of John Hagen. So put Peltier Sharp back to the point and back to the lead as she's looking to take back her laps led lead here today. As she obviously is going to tie Hagen, as Hagen obviously led 1 lap. She'll now tie it back, so they will now be back to equal terms with 21 laps led between the 2 of them, as she's looking to take a commanding lead here. Brian Dixon set the fastest, actually Josh Gaiman set the fastest lap of the race, taking Peltier Sharp's top crown here. Brian Dixon set a purple sector 2, and Dixon, haven't said much about him this season. He is flying today here. Looks like this is a track that really plays into the wheelhouse of that number 03 machine. As he tries to make moves and battles it out, he'll hold on the third. Brandon Featherplace being challenged by Matthew Kent here. So Team Boss not trying to get upshowed by Team Driver here in that number 03. Team Bosses, both Matthew Kent and Featherplace, fighting it out here. Meanwhile, Brian Dixon still trying to get an advantage here. Going to try to take second away from John Hagen. They have found something in that 03 machine, and it is showing off here as he's ripping that high side right now. Dixon going to get clears to put Dixon up the second. Hagen now down the third. Matthew Kent, Brandon Featherplace, they'll be side by side here for fifth. Kent, Featherplace battling it out, keeping an eye on the lead here. Obviously, right now it's still Peltier Sharp leading the way, but Dixon and Hagen keeping her honest. We'll be ready to pivot back there at a moment's notice when the battle gets a little closer, because right now they are side by side here. We will come back to that now, as right now you can see the battle still raging on in the far shop. You can see Dixon, Sharp just trying to break that draft, trying to find that weave to try to find a breakaway to give herself some distance here. Watch this battle. We will take, actually, we're going to take the onboard shot for a second, but we'll have to hold that thought as Dixon just trying to get that run. Won't get it that corner entry as Hagen and Gaiman will catch back up here. We'll take this opportunity right now. We'll ride on board with the Jameson's 34 machine here of Brandon Featherplace. He's got a pretty good seat. That's Matthew Kent, but we'll still keep the Bucky's machine then. Carmen will be proud of that onboard camera sponsor. As you can see, right now it's 3 abreast there for third. As Kent, I believe, is on the inside of Josh Gaiman here. We'll go wide shot to show it, but he would be correct. Gaiman ends up getting the bad shot there. As now Gaiman is going to be under pressure, so he ends up kind of being the big loser here. He's going to lose 1 to 2 spots in this encounter. We'll see if he can make the bleeding stop. See on the inside, outside, still Gaiman, Featherplace. We are keeping an eye on that lead, entering lap 64. Still Sharp keeping, as you can see on those wide shots, Sharp keeping the 03 of Brian Dixon at bay. Meanwhile, Michael Joy has crashed this party as well, up to P7. He is one of the bigger movers in tonight's race, up 16 spots from where he qualified. Biggest mover would be a tie between Edward Marshall and Tommy Withers, both up 27 respectively, as they currently ride 14th and 15th. So we are not technically at halfway yet. We are getting closer to halfway as we edge closer to it. And there's been a race to nutrition as we still see Brian Dixon. We'll cut back up to our race leader here, just trying to do something, but he just can't get the run he needs. And there's a saying I love to mention, as we'll have to hold that saying's thought here for a second, is Kent and Featherplace still side by side as Kent gets in the Featherplace. And we'll have to see if 34 comes up the road. He will not. He'll lock it down. We stay green. Again, theoretically a 2-car caution, but it looks like iRacing is deemed the controls. And we can see while you're watching that, it is game on. So to kind of go back to the story's timeline with Spellin, is that there's a saying I love to say, if you next person up, and if you aren't that person in line, as we see a little bit of a latency drop by Sharp, so I'll have to cut the Dixon here. But if you aren't going to make the move here, I will make the move instead. So next driver up categorically means that if you're not going to make the move, I will make the move, and then I will make the move on the car ahead. And with Sharp having some latency issues, she's got to be careful. If that connection doesn't settle out, she could be possibly asked to drop to the back or in turn concede spots. So right now it was only a minor hiccup. She'll be okay for the time being, but she'll have to be careful as John Hagen looking to take the lead back in that Smeal Racing Designs machine. Top 5 set in stone at the moment. It's Sharp, Hagen, Dixon, Gaiman, Tucker, your top 5. As you see in the wide shot, oh, Gaiman gets a little loose. Wonder if he got some contact there by Tucker. It's kind of close. But luckily, no one goes around. We stay green. That's going to put Tucker up a spot, and now Gaiman going to fall outside the top 5. As he'll be under pressure here from both the 17 of Feemster, the 77 Ikavatsi, and Toby Estes, all looking to find a way around this number 61. Meanwhile, back up front, while we were kind of watching that, Sharp able to get around John Hagen again. So Sharp back up to the point. Hagen now in second. Contact back there. It's every time we cut to the lead, something happens further back as Ikavatsi almost runs into the side corner panel of Josh Gaiman. As this action has caused me to have a coffin fit there for a second. As Ikavatsi going to have to keep the par point in the right direction, or he will, and now be under pressure from Dale Markowski from Black Acid Racing. So as we watch this battle, we're going to cut back up to the lead. You can see right there, it is still a raging war between the 2 cars of the 18 of Sharp and the 1 of John Hagen. Hagen going to go low side here on the 18 of Sharp. I think it's not going to be smooth like butter at the moment. Side by side to the line. I believe lap lead was led by, I believe, Sharp. It was close. You could probably argue inconsistencies, but regardless, they will still be side by side here. And Hagen, at the moment, going to try to clear, and he will. Sharp going to try to over-under him. They will catch a lap down car here of Nathan LaJoy in about a couple laps. You'll see the Tony Tiger paint scheme enter your screen as they are still side by side. Sharp, Hagen. Hagen will lead that lap. Sharp will fall back to the second here. And we've seen this on the run. She kind of has a good short run car, but struggles on the long run here. It makes you wonder if her magic number may be about 20 laps. As we have 30 to go before the stage ended, and you can see the effects as the car begins to drop. But even with the long run pace, it's still not that bad, as she's really made it work. As even though the run is kind of shrunken her down, she's still stayed kind of close to the cars around her in pace. Lap 73 again coming to the stage. Stage will end on lap number 80. Just double checking that to make sure it is lap 80. So lap 80 will be the stage break. Brian Dixon going high to low here. And again, this is where we'll see drivers that saved their stuff, made their tires last, and they will capitalize. Makes you wonder if Steve Tucker is one of those drivers. Getting an all right charge here. Getting a good tow here. Currently sitting in the 4th spot. As Sharp is really beginning to fall off here, as Brian Dixon going to be low side here of the 18 machine. And the move he struggled to make 10 laps ago could be easier now, as John Hagen has opened up about a 7/10 gap over the battle for second here. Dixon will get clear, almost clear, and we have a caution. Yellow flag is out. Looks like it's Blake Galloway, who I believe is in the 05. There he is, spinning down the backstretch. A little bit of damage there. Believe this will not end the stage. We should have a 3 or 2 lap shootout for the stage. Obviously, you cannot listen on the radio call, so we'll have to see it in a second here. But I believe we are still going to race for the stage flag here. But let's take a look at what happened to Blake Galloway. He's got a very crinkled up front end here. So we'll play it out here. Full speed. Oh, looks like possibly Galloway got in the 19, and regardless, both of them got hooked. So obviously Marshall Harris, Edward Wood, and Blake Galloway all get a slight piece of that. We'll take a second look here. Cars are pitting. So probably pitting for stage, not the stage end, but at the very least pitting that, but we'll take a look at that in a second. We'll go with the eye in the sky camera here. Rewind out. Oh, well, actually, we'll play it back here because this actually gives us a good indicative of the fight. Obviously, we'll switch to, there we go. We'll push this camera here. Obviously, it's right there. Galloway gets in the wall. Withers also gets as well. Galloway uses it to get a good run. Oh, it looks like the 05 got stuck in the 19, and when they both got stuck, the 88 happened to be there, and in turn ended up kind of finishing them both off. One more look at this. We'll focus on the 88 of Ethan Wood this time, as we'll play it from a nice hood camera on the Stanley's machine here. And you can see the effect right there. 19 comes on the 05, 05 into the 88. Both of them go around, and Ethan Wood ends up making it out the best out of the three in that instance. So back to live action, there's Blake Galloway, and we did have some pit stops there. Some cars like to stay out to try to get some stage points. Peltier Sharp, Steve Tucker, Josh Gaiman all stayed out. First car to come in was John Hagan, as you can see him right back here, currently sitting in 19th. Brian Dixon also P20. Toby Estes 21st, all electing to come in here. It's interesting because, theoretically, they're going to pit here, give up stage points, but take the lead back when the stage ends here because you're not going to come in, per se, that quickly. So, Sharp, Tucker, Gaiman, LaJoy, Feemster, Markowski, Verdon, Battles, Ikvatsi, Baxter going to be your top 5. You can see the 28 and the 05 both will beat the count, and they will stay, respectively, on the lead lap here. Turn, Ryan Pannell will get another lap back. He is now going to be 2 down here, and with a quick stage caution, theoretically, Ryan Pannell has a chance. I know we're kind of focusing on him, but he is the heart and soul of ARCS. You can see he has a good chance here, theoretically, get back on the lead lap, or at the very least be within a shout of being on the lead lap before a lap goes by. Actually, I believe he's actually 2. Actually, I believe, yeah, he should, 2 down. Actually, I think he's 3 down, so never mind. He'll be 2 down if a quick caution comes out here. But anyway, these drivers will be racing for the stage here. Sharp and Tucker. Tucker seemed to have more speed between the two of them here on this front row. Obviously, it's unlikely Hagan and Galloway will be able to carve for the field here, so they'll see if they can make a late run to get maybe a point or 2. Obviously, Hagan's got the win. Galloway does not, so stage points less infected for him. Control will be on Peltier Sharp here as they enter the restart zone. Ooh, spun tires, car spinning the back. Brian Johnson, Steve Tucker, a lot of things happened there. Quick caution, should end the stage. Obviously, Feemster got a piece there. He ended up getting hooked around. Brian Johnson hit the outside retaining wall. Those are the first 2 things notable I saw. Obviously, a lot of the cars got affected, and that's basically going to neutralize it. So that will end the stage here. We'll take a look at the incident in a second, but while we do, we'll take a quick incident to show the results there for stage number 2, as you'll see here on the screen. Sharp, Tucker, LaJoy, Gaiman, Markowski, Ikvatsi, Baxter, Fleming, Kerr, and Wood should theoretically be the top 10, but that can be subject to change. So let's take a look here exactly at what happened here, as this was just messy all around, is kind of the way to say it. As we'll see if I can find the restart here. Just give me a second. Yeah, this will take us roughly to where we need. So we're going to kind of just go eye in the sky cameras. Again, always say, never lies. We're going to go up the road here, and we're going to play it at 4 speed. Actually, we'll play it at full speed here, and then we'll pause it about here. So we're going to focus on someone here. Obviously, we're going to kind of stay to the front here. Actually, we'll go with another camera here. That's actually perfect. So coming to the restart zone, 24 Tucker doesn't really get going. LaJoy kind of gives him a little shunt. Oh, Feemster got in the back of the 61. 17 goes up. Obviously, there's another incident in the back. We'll focus on it in a second. Feemster comes down, and that ends up hooking the 17 around into the infield along with the 00 and the 11. Then we have a second incident, and we'll come back to watch FT in a second. Brian Johnson and them and co have an incident as well. So we'll play it out here. Similar issue here. We'll focus on an angle here. Restart occurs. Oh, rewind right there. Withers looks like he had his own independent spin incident there. So we'll play it right there. Watching the 43. Yeah, he spins it. Harris gets in front of him right in the 72 of Brian Johnson. So we're going to take 2 looks at those cars I just mentioned. So first time we're going to go back again. This time we'll ride on board with the 17 of Kevin Feemster. And we're going to watch the restart from his perspective. Then we'll watch the restart from Marshall Harris's perspective. So restart happens. Pace car pulls off. Sharp can go anytime in the zone. Oh, 61 spun the tires a little bit. 17 tried to go. Ended up kind of in a weird spot. And then ended up kind of getting hit for his own troubles. We're just going to rewind it here, just save some time here. And we'll focus on the 00 this time as well, so he'll have another good perspective of this too. So we'll play it out here, pause it here, go on board with the 00. There's a spin, there's a spin tire, 17 goes high, low. 00 also has his own wheel spin and ends up giving the 17 a hook. One more quick look as well. We'll focus on the back incident this time. We'll focus on Marshall Harris here. So 2 spin tire incidents in 2 different situations may have had a slight trickle-down effect. Tommy Withers just gets it. Oh, not even Withers' fault. That was Harris kind of spun him. You can see it just the thing kick right and ended up collecting into Brian Johnson. So really, Withers had nothing to do with that one. It was just Marshall Harris, the thing kicked right, and Brian Johnson was the unlucky recipient. So stage 2 comes to an anticlimactic close, as now we officially got the one to go here. John Hagan will cycle back to the lead as he did not. Obviously, he stayed out. Top 9 all came in at 75. Nathan LaJoy elected to stay out again, so he came last in on 48. So he'll be the last of the drivers that stayed out. Mike Pelletier Sharp will be the first of the drivers with fresh tires. She'll fire off in P11. No, P12 is Michael Joe actually beat her on pit stop. He'll come out 11. Then Gaiman, Tucker, Markowski, and so on. But control will be on that driver, John Hagan, as we get ready to start the final stage here. Hagan, Adams, Oberstadt, Wright, Lawrence, Longenecker, Pressey, Kent, Mongol, LaJoy, your top 10. As the pace car gets ready to pull on off. Final stage here is underway as we get ready for a good old St. Paddy's Day shootout here for the last stage at Atlanta. So as they come off of 4 here, and Hagan will lead that lap, so he will lead the first lap of the final stage. Adams in tow. We're going to keep an eye on Pelletier Sharp in co here at the moment as they are trying to carve through this field like a hot knife through butter, as they're going to try to use those slightly fresher tires here to their advantage. And we know that 18's got a fast, short-run car. 28, a Mongol will clear in front of Lawrence. Again, a lot of these drivers haven't said much about tonight as they've been having good, solid runs, but just not really notably high up. Obviously, we haven't talked about the 24 with David Wright. He knows how to save tires. He knows to make strategies work here. Austin Mongold in 28, Michael Lawrence in the 47, Elliot Longhart in the 9. It's a good chance to get those cars out front and get them some air time. It's always a fun time to see your car on the broadcast in positions of battle here. Long and Neck are going to be side-by-side with Lawrence. Mongold and Wright are also going to be side-by-side. But Josh Gaiman, highest of the drivers that came in the pit for service, he will end up making a double-wide move here, put him up to 8th as our pole sitter is beginning to climb. Pelletier Sharp as well in her 18, trying to get that low line to work here. Meanwhile, you can see in the far shot, the 28 of Mongold gets around David Wright. Bren Roberts also making a move, I believe, on James Kerr in the back shot there. As this is another kind of a good indicative test as well, as we haven't seen these drivers really have this opportunity, some of them being buried in traffic. How their car going to react in tons and tons of traffic. As some cars obviously do a lot better when open air, but when they have to kind of car through traffic, you can see the effects this plays. 25 of LaJoy just came down for service. Obviously, he stayed out. He came back in for service. As we're going to cut back to the lead, as we're basically getting a part 2 of what we saw at Auto Club. Hagan and Adams, they're going to duel it out here. As they're going to have a little bit of a good old-fashioned scrum. I was going to make a second word there, but they're going to have a scrum regardless, as they're going to fight on the low side here. Adams, you could say, won the battle last week as neither driver really took the flag of victory. But in their last encounter, it went to Adams, and Adams going to take that lead right now as we see a little bit of a smorgasbord back there between the 33 of Markowski. He gives a little shove to Dixon. Looks like they'll all keep it clean at the moment, but you can see it was getting a little argy-bargy back there as cars begin to fan out. Featherplace, remember, involved in that incident halfway through stage 2. He's trying to get himself back inside the top 10, currently riding in 17th position. We'll head back up to our race leader. As you can see, a few cars beginning to move forward. Obviously, you can see that 61 W machine of Josh Gaiman, currently sitting in the 5th positions, got himself back inside the top 5. For reference point, the next highest car that came in under the stage caution is going to be the 18 currently sitting in 9th. So Gaiman really getting through this field quickly and then showing his expertise of why he was a first-round draft pick for back-to-back years in 23 and 24. I'm sorry, a 3-time first-round draft pick, 2-time first overall pick in 23 and 24. Got to put a little bit of respect on that name. But a driver that's challenging the champion is Patrick Oberstadt. He thought about making a move on John Hagen, but Gaiman going to rip it around the high side. And it's going to be a spot loss. Meanwhile, battle between Gaiman and Hagen here for second. Hagen going to have the low side. Gaiman going to have the high side here. Gaiman going to show you, even though it's a couple lap difference on tires, it can play a huge factor as Mongold almost sent Tucker to the Shadow Realm. But they'll all get it straightened up behind the far side, and they will play it out quite nicely. So Gaiman in second, Hagen now to third. Pressey and Oberstadt fighting for fourth. And now with this fresher tire advantage in Gaiman, can Gaiman put some pressure on Jonathan Adams here? So watch that possibly shortly play out as we still focus on this battle for fourth, as we are keeping an eye on the lead here. And we're going to cut back to it right now. Hagen made that high side lurk, got the run, now going to try to make it a 2-for-1 special, get the blue light on, and we can officially turn it on. John Hagen makes the pass work. He is now to the lead again. So it just shows you how a good corner can play to your advantage as he will lead that lap. So Hagen back to the point, but possibly not for long, as Adams is going to try to replicate it. And it makes you wonder, has Hagen found a success line on that high side, as Adams could not rip it low, couldn't keep the grip in it, and he's going to end up losing 2 spots here. So Hagen, really feeling comfortable on that high side of 1 and 2, has maybe found a preferred line here. As Gaiman gets official clear for second, as I think Hagen just almost hit that wall there, but will not lose enough speed to really make it effective. So we're going to keep an eye on this, but we're going to cut a little further back as LaJoy and Oberstadt there fighting. David Wright is also getting 3 wide, split by Steve Tucker and Brandon Featherplace, as we are keeping an eye for that lead in our shot of mirror. Cut back to that in just a second here as we're keeping an eye on the times. We want to focus on all the battles, make sure everyone gets their proper screen time. Oh, almost Hagen gets in the Roberts there, and it almost caused the caution, but meanwhile Wright just trying to hang on as he's fallen down to 16th position. Back up to the lead. Gaiman going low side, Hagen going high side, and just getting that run off 1 and 2. Again, it makes you think Hagen's putting that in the information docket, and he's saying, hey, if I need a late run, stay high through 1 and 2, then run a middle 3 and 4, because that high side is working a trait. He is getting the run he needs to keep that 1 car ahead. Nice show, folks. This time on Jonathan Adams will go on board with that. You can see right there, Hagen going to go low. Gaiman now going to go high. That driver really could make a dent there, as Adams, again, has the best seat in the house of this kind of battle. We will have a caution. It is going to be Ethan Wood in the 88. Looks like he is going to be involved in this, and he's got some heavy door side damage. So usually when one car has damage, the other one is in tow. Looks like not Josh Battles, not possibly could be Marshall Harris, but he looks relatively okay. So the only way to really figure this out is to watch a replay, and that is what we'll do. I think it may have been Ross Baxter, but we're going to watch out. So we're going to go to the eye in the sky camera. Ethan Wood already a little bit loose here. Oh, ooh, this is interesting. All right, we're going to have to rewind here to figure this one out. Oh, you can, as we just rewind, you're seeing the effects of what happened. So we're going to play it here. Ethan Wood side by side with Withers and Estes. Gets checked up a little bit, gets a little loose. Oh, gets in the back, so shoots Wood up the road. Oh, then Wood hip checks Kerr, still trying to save it. Still trying to save it, and eventually it just loops on him here as he goes up the road. Almost collected by Marshall Harris, but Alfred George nowhere to go either, and that rips the back clip off of that number 88 machine. We'll take another look at this again. As so many people are pitting, it's making the replay camera be a little delayed here. So obviously it's a little hard to really pin this down as where the caution happened. There we go. So we'll rewind back just a bit. This time we'll focus on the 22 of Ross Baxter here. As you see coming off corner exit, there's the little speed wobbles. Baxter gets collided there, still keeping going in the right direction. Ends up, though, getting some minor damage there. That's why he elected to come down a closed pit to fix it up, as that little excursion ended up affecting that car in question. We'll take one more look. This time we'll focus on the 40 of Elfridge George here. A little bit further back here, obviously, the incident. We'll play it out here. So obviously, the incident's going to happen up the road here. They're already getting the wreck. I think actually we're a little too far back here, so we're just going to put a little rewind forward on this. So you can see right about here's where the incident should be happening. Yeah, you can see right there the little ping pong effect. And you can see George is trying to mind his own business. Wood still trying to save it. Still trying to save it. And at that point, you can see him come up the road. At this point, you just got to get on the brakes. He tries to go high. And just nowhere the Jimmy John's machine to go as he ends up piling into the side of Ethan Wood. Back to live action. You can see there's Marshall Harris coming out of pit lane. And that's a nice nose camera we got. But up front, Josh Gaiman will take the lead of this race through pit stop cycle. So Gaiman and Wright will be row one, as Gaiman and Wright both electing to stay out here. Only 2 cars to do so. Everyone else coming in for service. Nicholas Pressey electing to take 2 tires. He'll fire off 3rd. John Hagan first of the drivers to take 4 freshies. He'll be 4th. Ikavazzi also electing to take 2 tires. He'll be batting 5th. And Michael Lawrence also taking 2 tires. And I believe Edward Marshall likes to take fuel only. So, differing strategy here. Obviously, we're a ways away. Obviously, drivers will have to take one more pit stop here. So, Gaiman theoretically thinks going long in the tooth here will benefit him, saving an extra set. But we'll have to see how it all plays. As we've seen, old tires do not work out, especially comparable to new tires. And this could play a factor that could hurt that number 61 machine. Along also with David Wright as well. Pace car going to pull on off here. Control will be on the 61 here. Try this angle here, see if it's a decent restart camera. Green flag is out, and away we go again here. Launched by the 61, Wright spun the tires a bit, and you can see right there, Pressey going to take advantage along with John Hagan and Jonathan Adams and Matthew Kent, as Wright is just stuck up there on the high side here, just trying to make the bleeding stop. Cars begin to file in and file out. Pressey side by side with Hagan. As, again, Gaiman, I don't know what he's going to do with these 20-lap old tires. Actually, not even 20 laps. About 16, 17-lap tire difference here. We'll see what he can do with it. It's going to be hard to make that car wide, especially in Atlanta. But Gaiman's also a seasoned veteran. He's going to have some tricks up that sleeve of that W machine. It makes you wonder what he can do here. Dave Wright will follow in line, side by side. Hagan and Gaiman will be. Hagan wants his lead back. And I think he'll make it as smooth as you like. We'll get clear and move ahead. So Hagan up to the lead. Gaiman getting back to second. Then it's Pressey and Adams. They're going to be in tow here behind that 61. But Gaiman, to his credit, not really showing the ill effects of those tires. He's going to try to rip it on that high side. Actually, we have a caution, so actually, never mind. Obviously saw it, then saw him slowing down. That will be a caution. We'll see who exactly it was for. Looks like it's Brendan Roberts. As you can see him sideways there, and he will end up towing to the pit lane. It's obviously behind the shot there. There he is. So we'll take a look here and see what exactly happened at that point when the caution box popped up. Oh, looks like it may have happened a little bit up the road. There's Pelletier Sharp. She was having a good day, and it looks like something may have gone metaphorically up here. So we're going to take that off the screen, and I think it's going to be further up the road here, but we're going to focus on the 18 here for now until we get more information. Oh, it's Michael Cheeseburger Lawrence and Mike LaJoy, and there you can see the effects that happened. And you can see them ping-pong into the wall here. Oh, and you can see Withers piles in. So now that we kind of have a clue what happened, we'll take a look here and focus on this. So we're going to be up the road here. We're going to focus on the 47 of Lawrence. And then we're going to go with a nice eye in the sky camera here and play it at half speed. Wind just a bit, pause, and then play at half speed. So Lawrence gets a little loose here, He shoots up the road, tries to save it, gets corner paneled by LaJoy. LaJoy was trying to fill that gap. They both go low. 47 goes low. Will pivot to the 29, who comes into Markowski. And at this point becomes a track blocker. There's Roberts, there's Sharp, two unwilling participants along with Markowski. And then you can see as we focus on here, 38 trying to get through, glides into the 29. And then we'll focus on Markowski here, as that is a terrible angle. As you can see right there, James Kerr trying to split the difference. And he ends up piling into his teammate there in Dale Markowski there as other cars pile in. We'll take two more looks at this. We'll focus on two onboard shots here. We'll focus on the 43. Actually, we'll focus on the 18 here of Peltier Sharp. We'll go on board with her. Actually, we'll go on the 84 of Bren Roberts. That's a better angle here. And we'll play it out here with Bren Roberts. As there's the little spin. Thinks he's home free and just ends up getting hooked. Unaware. You just think you're clear. Next thing you know, you're sideways with heavy damage. As he gets a little more thank you parting shot by both Withers and I believe Wansing. And we'll take one more look at this. This time speaking on last week's race winner, Tommy Withers, who's a ways away from this incident. You can see sometimes even when you're far enough away, the track can come back and bite you. Going low, cutting through the grass, and then Roberts just kind of ping-pongs low and just Withers thinks he's home free and can't end up getting through it. And you can see the effects that plays. So back to live action. There's Bren Roberts on pit lane. Pit lane is a crowded place at the moment as we now officially hit one to go. To show you exactly how crowded pit lane is at the moment, there you can see all the cars on it. 23, well, some cars just beat the line there, but you got the 2088 Ethan Wood, James Kerr, Peltier Sharp, Brian Johnson, Eldridge George, Markowski, LaJoy, both LaJoys, all on pit lane along with a few others here. So we'll take this opportunity real fast as we take the pit lane screen off to do a quick renaissance check here. So Hagen, Presley going to be row 1, Adams, Kent, Oberstadt, Dixon, Tucker, Marshall, Feather Place, Mongold your top 10. Gaiman took that as a warning sign. He came in. Problem is now he's going to be back there with the squirrels, you could say, and hopefully he may avoid catastrophe along with David Wright. As we saw, Sharp and a few others pit, got stuck back there, and ended up just getting piled in an incident they had no real involvement in. Meanwhile, we have 31 cars still on the lead lap and still running. Nathan Joy and Lion Pannell both 2 down at the moment. Bren Roberts currently with heavy damage still in pit lane. Seth Wansing still putting around. Ross Baxter looks like he's behind the wall along with Hutspeth, Gones, Merchant, and Brao. So 5 cars currently on the retirement slap. So green flag is back out in the air and away we go again. Good launch there by Hagen. As the battle for second rages on, as it looks like Pressy spun his tires a little bit on his 2-tire set, and that could leave him vulnerable here from the cars behind. One of those cars getting through is Adams. Pressy clips the wall just a bit. That's going to kill the run there for a few others. Meanwhile, Brian Dixon did not say much about him since the end of stage 2. He is on the prowl here. He wants to try to get some spots here as he's going to be side-by-side with the 60 of Patrick Oberstadt. So 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. Pressy, Adams, Oberstadt, Kent, Tucker, Dixon, your top 3. They're not the top 3. They're 3 duos fighting for positions between 2nd and 7th, respectively. As Pressy will hold off to the counter. We have another quick caution. So Mike LaJoy looks like he was in this incident. Yeah, he is sideways there. You can see him as he's parked up there. The 11th of Josh Battles also slow as well, as he's got heavy front nose damage. So we'll take a look here at what exactly happened. Michael Joy, obviously there you can see behind Peltier Sharp. So we'll focus on just an incident here. We'll play it out here. See, oh, Ethan Wood and themselves both get loose. Wood saves it. LaJoy does not. Well, he does kind of save it. Oh, and Alfred George piles in too. Tommy Withers just, oh, that's just not situation all around. Don't want to say anything really negative, but just not a lot of drivers hitting the brake, I guess, would be the one thing I want to say there. So we'll take a look again. This time we'll focus on Josh Battles here. as he's coming off corner. And you can see right there, LaJoy tries going down, going up, and on the brakes, just, no really of LaJoy to go. He can't stop. He's in the middle of a racetrack, but then there's George, and then there's Withers going to pile in a second there. We'll take one more look, this time focusing on the 40 of Elfridge George. We'll ride on board in the Jimmy John's machine. There you can see the spin. Wood goes low. He hits the inside wall, but he keeps in the right direction. Puff of smoke, trying to split the gap, but ends up piling in the battles. And then, obviously, Withers then piles in a second later into Michael Joy. So back to live action. There's Josh Battles on pit lane. Sharp comes down to fix more damage. Obviously, was not involved in the incident. Alfred George, heavy damage on the 40. Tommy Withers as well, heavy damage on the front nose cone of last week's race winner. And that's going to put a couple more cars with heavy damage. So all we got this second to breathe, as we should get the one to go. We'd like to thank you again tuning in here for the Pannell's Machine Shop 250. So at this moment, we are now officially, at the moment, 108 of 160 laps through tonight's festivities. Obviously, again, today is St. Paddy's Day, or at least tomorrow is St. Paddy's Day. It's St. Paddy's Day weekend. That's why you've seen a lot of green cars and green numbers on these machines. Obviously, Spiel Race Design's already green to begin with, but Hagen breaking out maybe a little bit in tow for St. Paddy's Day. As you all saw, like Matthew Kent in the 15 as well. He's got the green number, along with a few others. Obviously, also the 34 as well, running the Irish whiskey scheme there in the 34. So, again, thank you for tuning in. Obviously, hope you enjoy your Sunday evening, and hopefully this last lap of finish can be up to your standard. So, we got Hagen, Pressey, row 1, Adams, Oberstadt, row 2, Kent, Tucker, row 3, Dixon, Featherplace, row 4, Marshall, Kent, row 5. So his pace car going to pull on off. Control will be on the one of John Hagen here. So he will have control again. Green flag back out on lap 110. As we will now flip it over, we will have 51 laps to go here in tonight's race. I believe a pit stop still looms for this field, as I do not have the fuel numbers in front of me. The question is, what can they do on these possibly short runs or long runs, depending on how these cautions fall. Meanwhile, Pressey and Adams will fight for second here. Kent side by side with the 60 of Oberstadt. So we're kind of focusing on a couple different battles here. We're going to cut back to the 60 machine here. Oberstadt will get clear. Kent now side by side with Tucker. These drivers are just fighting for position here to try to get the runs. Now, obviously, I'm noticing some drivers have some good runs here. I don't want to bring them up too much because when you start mentioning drivers have good runs, the jinx usually follows a little bit later. So I'm going to just let the drivers kind of ride their way here. But you'll notice some names that we haven't said much about or have recovered nicely. As you see, Matthew Kent, though, going to mow the grass there. Luckily, will come back up the road. Will not hit anyone, so we stay green. As they move on. Oh, look at that. You can see his cars go side by side by side. Right there, Oberstadt side by side with Dixon. Dixon going to try to low draft that 60 Kroger's machine. Can't get it done. Meanwhile, keeping an eye as we watch this battle. Steve Tucker, just saw him flashing my board, set the fastest lap of that race last time by a 30.94, as he's now firmly in third. He's trying to make a challenge here. With a lot of drivers struggling at the moment, he is trying to show off why he has a chance to win this race. He sets a purple lap. We'll definitely put him on the fast track to do so. But up front, it is still the John Hagen show, as he is leading the way ahead of that number 94, Nicholas Pressey, who's going to try to go low side here. Pressy, Hagen, 1-2 at the moment. Pressy going to slide back in. Meanwhile, I'm noticing in the far shot, 3 a wide. Feather plays Estes and Kent, I believe it was. Gaiman, I think, was also in tow in there, too. They were 3 wide down that far stretch right there. And like I've usually said, 3 wide does not usually work at a lot of tracks. Doesn't seem to work well at Atlanta. And you can see, luckily, no one gets a piece of that, too. They all stay in the right direction, but you can see side by side the 34 and the 23 of Estes and Feather Place are as they battle for 7th. Meanwhile, we just see a move up the front. Steve Tucker going to go low side on the number 94. Tucker can't get the drive off he needs. Pressy will hang on to that challenge. So Pressy in second. Tucker now back down to third. So we're kind of focusing on battles here as I believe a pit stop still looms for this field. The question is, when will these drivers like to take it? One of the drivers on the fresh tires at the moment, Josh Gaiman, remember, came in at 102. Trying to make those fresh tires work. And we have another caution here. Chris Fleming is going to be the driver in question here, the 38 machine, as he will have an incident here, as it looks like a toe link could possibly be broken. Does look like it's crab walking a little, but at the same point, doesn't look heavily damaged. But obviously, we'll take a look at the replay here to see what exactly happened to 38. Side by side, it seems, with the 16 machine of Edward Marshall. So we'll play it out here. There's the 9 along a necker. Oh, gets collected. They both go sideways. 38 up the road. Luckily, he locks it down. But iRacing will deem that a caution. Obviously, 38 stopped in a bad spot. And obviously, in turn, a lot of cars you can see zooming on by. Luckily, Fleming doesn't get hit by anyone else. Yep, he will not. So he will avoid major catastrophe here and continue on with relatively light damage. So now the question is, obviously, 44 laps to go. Will anyone elect to come in here? Looks like no major takers here. Everyone will bake on out here. Just going to skip through to see if anyone of note. Obviously, Edward Marshall obviously involved in the incident along with Longnecker. They'll come in just to make sure their cars are relatively unscathed as they will continue on. So this sets the tone here. Obviously, if you have, there's a set limit of how many tires these drivers get. They have 6 sets of tires here. So you don't want to keep coming in, and putting fresh stuffs on it, especially considering how effective fresh tires can be around here. We've seen it with just a slight 6-lap difference. You can see the effect that plays. So 6 laps can play a major factor. So you want to make sure if we get a late race caution with 10 or 15 laps to go, you want to save a set. Because if you burn it now, we've seen a lot of drivers make a lot of pit stops here. Obviously, we can see right now, for reference point, John Hagen has come down 4 times. Pressy's come down 4 times. Brian Dixon's come down 5 times along with Toby Estes. Now, not all these stops these drivers have taken 4 tires. But it's noteworthy because they only get 6 sets. That's why Pressy, in his 2 stops, you know, he's taken 2 and 2 respectively. So at the very least, I believe I would say to say he's probably got 2 sets left. Meanwhile, there's some question marks on Hagen, who presumably, I think, may have 3 sets, 2 sets left as well, maybe 3. So there is a risk of element here where you want to make sure you save your tire, save an extra set, especially if we get a late caution here, to ensure you're not caught sitting in the dust, because it's very hard to stay forward, especially with bad instance track position. So it'll be Hagen, Pressy, Tucker, Adams, Oberstedt, Dixon, X's game in your top first 4 rows. Noteworthy, Pressy on 2 tires still. Could be noteworthy if you got a fast car. 2 tires could work, especially if you get a green-white checkered. But if theoretically, if everyone's pitting, you're going to come in 2 and take 4 if you got 4. But maybe a driver a little bit further back could take a risk and take 2 and try to make a net gain on track position. 28 cars on the lead lap. Brian Johnson, Nathan Joy, both 1 down at the moment. Ryan Pannell and his Quest has finally gotten back on the lead lap, so he'll be one of the 28 cars on the lead lap. If we get another caution, the fight will be between LaJoy and Johnson for the lucky dog in question, unless both are involved. So as we get ready to enter the restart zone here, control will be on Hagen. And green flag is out, and away we go. So Hagen, Tucker, Pressey, Adams, it's right there, Gaiman and Oberstadt fighting. We're kind of watching battles here, keeping an eye on interesting notes as well. As we focus on Adams, going to get a lunge here on the inside of Pressey. 40 laps to go here. Keep an eye on the race, battle for the race lead. Hagen loves that high line, and he's gotten the runoff he needs, and he can just show it. 1 and 2, it looks like he may be in Kryptonite's corner, yet he ends up getting the run he needs. So Hagen going to get a healthy distance ahead of Tucker right now, but Tucker is flexing that muscle. Meanwhile, Pressey, Adams, 3rd and 4th. Pressey hangs on. Adams going to try to over under him. He clips the back end of the 94. And now he's going to go low side on the 94 here. Dixon, Gaiman as well. Fastest sector 2 by John Hagen. Dixon way off the racing line. Keeps his foot in it. Will lose a spot to Gaiman. Now under pressure from Oberstadt, but luckily will not end up hitting anything or looping it. So he will stay pointing in the right direction. Back up front, Adams, Gaiman. Adams looks like may have something happened here between the two of them. They may have touched lightly, and Gaiman will part the Red Seas, and he'll put himself to 3rd. So our pole sitter is now up to 3rd here, as he's going to try to check out and catch up to this top 2 here, who are beginning to break away. Pressey, little kick there. Adams will finally get clear, and now Patrick Oberstadt will try to make a lunge. Meanwhile, purple sector 1 there by Edward Marshall, currently sitting in 15th. We'll have to keep an eye on him in his run here. See if he sets the fast lap of the race, as we still watch this battle for position number 4. And that number 16 will get the fast lap of the race of noteworthy. Looks like another incident just occurred, and we will have a caution. 18 of Pelletier Sharp, obviously right there. You can see her stopped on the surface. I think Kevin Feemster in the 17 as well. You can see heavy damage. He will be the other car involved in the incident. Possibly more. We'll have to see on the replay. But at the very least, those two. 17 heavy damage on the front and the back. So I'm going to guess he had a wild ride here. So we're going to play it out. Eye in the sky camera. We'll play it at a slow speed. So obviously Feemster ahead of Sharp and Verdun. Oh, looks like he may have got it. Yeah, he gets a little loose. Sharp tries to thread the needle. Clips the corner panel of the 17. Sharp goes low. Clips Austin Mongold. We'll focus on Sharp in a second here. Then the 17 comes up the road. Gets hit by the 39 McDonough. And then, whoa! Big lick there. Ping pongs, sends the car like a tabletop, like a B-blade. And he goes spinning high to low there. And plays it out there. So we'll take another look at Feemster this time by, and we're going to watch it from another angle just to see that car here at full speed, the lick he had. Yeah, just try to make 3 wide. You see that New Atlanta, ooh, big lick. And you can see comes to a momentary stop there on the low apron. Another look again. We'll focus on Pelletier Sharp this time by, as obviously she has a good look here. And this is something you see in Atlanta, even New Atlanta. Car goes way out of the groove. The second lane tries to take advantage of the third car going high into the 3rd lane and then ends up colliding. So we'll play it here. Tries to split a gap. You can say maybe not there, maybe a bit over-aggressive by the 18. And in turn, that sends the 18 around, and the 17 ends up getting the worst of it in that incident. So back to live action. Hopefully if the live action button works. As there we go, live action now officially coming back to picture. Kevin Feemster obviously heavy damage on pit lane. Lily Pelletier Sharp also heavy damage as well. As right now we have 20 cars currently on the racing surface. However, some cars elected to pit. Meanwhile, one of those cars that elected to pit, John Hagen and Josh Gaiman. They both elected to come in on lap 125. They, along with Pressey, Vordon, and Sharp, obviously Vordon and Sharp were involved in the incident, but those three, Hagen, Gaiman, and Pressey, will file up 17th, 18th, and 19th, and as you can see as we switch over the laps to go, That was obviously last time by under the caution. So theoretically, presumably if they're pitting here, they feel confident they can make it to the finish, as we've seen a 30-lap run to the go. So they are good to go to the end. They'll have a big advantage over the cars here on lap 96, which is Tucker, Adams, Oberstedt, Dixon, Estes, Featherplace, and Kent. They all came in at lap 96. Edward Marshall looks like he came in at 117. He'll be the highest driver on slightly fresher tires. Then you'll have Ikavazzi and Wright both came in at 102. Elliott Longenecker also came in on 117. Then you got a handful of 102s, and then obviously 17s, and then obviously John Hagan the first on the 125s. So Tucker presumably will have to pit one more time here. Strategy seems to be at the moment between Tucker and Adams that it seems to be go long, they'll presumably hope there's another caution here between here and 34 laps and gain track position and then try to come in and neutralize, or at the very least try to get fresher tires on a short run to try to make something happen. Meanwhile, Hagan, Verdon, Hagan, Gaiman, and Pressey, assuming if this goes green at the end, will try to make their advantage work while the rest of the field, presumably ahead of them, will have to pit. So tale of two strategies and everything in between as Steve Tucker will come in. Control will be on him. He's had a fast 24. What can he do now that he leads the race? Green flag is out, and away we go here as Tucker and Adams will be side by side heading off into one. Cars fan out, fight for position. Ooh, looking Edward Marshall, obviously taking advantage of that tire advantage here. Again, if you remember, I talked about early in the broadcast, he was a driver in question that had some issues. Obviously, an auto club had a fast car, and it did not indicative. Well, now he's kind of got himself in a good spot here late. He's going to have that advantage right now at the moment with the freshest tires in this pack, as we still have a long ways to go between Hagan, Gaiman, and Pressey. They're still back outside the top 15. This could be the run Marshall needs. As remember, he also set the fast lap of the race about a handful of laps ago. So he may use this advantage in this slightly clean track to try to make something happen. Meanwhile, up front, Adams holding off Tucker as Adams gets clear as well. So Adams, Tucker fighting. Obviously, Adams got the runoff we saw on screen, made the move. Now Tucker going to try to answer back here. Adams, another driver that maybe thought Auto Club slipped through his fingers as he had a good run, but obviously fuel strategy saved the day for Withers and co. And if it went green, maybe we had a chance, but if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, every day would be Christmas, and Jonathan Adams may be a winner. But right now, he's looking to right those wrongs as he's going to go high side here, but you're going to see trying to take the Hagan line, and he's going to get the runoff he needs, but he's going to get blocked off by Tucker, who made a good move. He'll slide up. Longenecker going to go way off the race surface in the back there as Tucker going to try to control both lanes here. Marshall looking to crash the party in the Saucy Nuggets machine. Oh, we have another caution. Looks like, believe it may have been Pelletier Sharp. Possibly she took evasive action. Saw a few cars light up my battle box. Looks like, Josh Gaiman. It is Josh Gaiman. One car is Turtle. It's the 0-0 of Verdon. So Gaiman, snake bitten it seems. And like I said, sometimes when you get back with the squirrels, you find a nut. And it looks like Gaiman may have ended up being involved in an incident here. Well, obviously he was involved in the incident. But how bad? We'll have to see here. And, well, that gives you a clue as we see that. But we're going to have to rewind here to see what exactly happens. Hagan's clear the incident. Oh, we'll have to focus on the 9 here, because I think this may be a bad blend, as we saw the 9 get loose here. So we're going to play it all the way back here. We're going to focus on the 9 of Longenecker. We're going to play it out. Longenecker way off the road here. Does he not merge cleanly? He comes up. They're 3 wide. Oh, I think Gaiman may have tried to come down and clear Longenecker. Ping-pongs, obviously, the 61 into the field. And then we're going to cut back, and then you can see Verdon on his side. And you can see the effect that had. As you can just see, it was just basically a stopper. And things went metaphorically up there. So we'll go back again. Obviously, we see the incident question here. As you can see, game in tow. We'll focus on the, I believe we're going to take the 42 with David Wright here. Is this angle here. As you can see, actually, we're going to focus on game. That's actually going to give us a better view here. I just want to see, does he come down? We'll go with actually an eye in the sky camera here. We'll play it at 4th speed. Does he come down, or does Longenecker come up? Longenecker's drifting up. Longenecker drifts up. It's odd. I'm going to rewind here just a second if we can get this thing to pause. And we're going to play it at full speed. Oh, I think two dogs are fighting for a stake there. And Gaiman came down trying to clear, and Longenecker came up a little bit and put the pinch. And then you can see Verdon ends up going sideways there and gets turtled. We'll take one more look, and we'll have the driver with the wildest ride here. It's going to be the 00 here. As you can see, we're just going to wind back here. And we're going to go onboard shot with in the cockpit of the 00, as he's going to have one heck of a ride. Take a listen. Oh, big lick. Try to go high and not a place you want to be, especially at Atlanta. Sideways, still sideways, and eventually gets flipped on his roof. And you can see at that point needs to get gets the flipper over to get back onto the racing surface. So back to live action. Obviously, you can see Gaiman, pretty much his day is probably officially done, as we now got officially the one to go here. 27 laps to go. Marshall electing to stay out. Rest of the field coming in. Hagan now promoted up to second, with Pressey third, Longenecker fourth, Sharp fifth. First car, Jonathan Adams will have the fresh tires here on 132. Tucker as well, along with Featherplace, they'll have a slight advantage over this 27-lap run if it works out for them. Marshall, though, going to have the oldest tires in the bunch. We'll see if he can now, with now not the advantage, can he make this clean track work in that Saucy Nuggets machine. Pace car, going to get ready to pull on off here. Control will be on that number 16 as they enter the restart zone. Green flag is out, and away we go. Looks like a little bit of spun tires in the back. Good launch by Marshall. We're going to cut back to Longenecker. So it looks like he kind of got a little bottleneck there, and you're going to see cars begin to zoom around him on the high side. Remember, he's on the same strategy as Ethan Marshall, our current leader. Edward Marshall now holding off John Hagan as Longenecker goes from about 4th to about 10th in about 2 corners there. Marshall going to try to hang on here right at the moment. 26 now coming to 25 laps to go. Marshall, Hagan, Pressey, Sharp, Adams, your top 5. Fastest sector 1 from Edward Marshall. Does he have some speed left in this machine? Not saying he never had it, but he is showing these old tires could still have some life left in them. As he sets a purple, not a purple lap, but a purple sector, basically matched his personal best of 30.88 to Josh Gaiman's 31.09. As you can see, cars battle on and rage on, so he has some distance. Meanwhile, this is a bit of a life net for both Sharp and Pressey. They've caught back up. Sharp obviously had a great Sector 1, Stage 1 and Stage 2. Now she has a little bit of damage, but she's back up towards the front. We'll see what she can do as she's now side by side with that 34. 24 laps to go here. Featherplace, remember, is the driver on the freshest new tires, though, as he came on a 132. Can he capitalize with being currently the highest driver on the freshest tires? Along with Adams and I believe Kent as well. They're both on that 132 strategy. As Kent in that Bucky's machine will clear teammate Pelletier Sharp. We'll see also if Adams can follow suit. Purple best lap last time by for Marshall. He is flying at the moment. He's got well over, I believe, a second gap over John Hagan, currently sitting in second. Right there, Steve Tucker going to try to make it 3 wide. Look at the block Adams throws. And Tucker maybe got a little contact, but also sold that 8 like a dummy. And now Tucker is going to try to capitalize here. Meanwhile, up the road as we watch this battle, Feather Place getting hounded by Matthew Kent. They are battling currently for 4th position. We're keeping an eye on that lead, the intervals on that lead. Right now, Marshall still running faster laps than John Hagen. So we watch this battle for 4th. Kent just still hounding the back of that 34 machine as we'll watch on board here with the 24 of Steve Tucker. He's got a pretty good seat in the house right now as he's watching this battle. It will also show you kind of the intervals ahead of how big that gap between Marshall and Hagen is. Feather Place going to go low. Kent going to go high here. And Kent going to try to rip it high side. You can get the runoff on that high side if you can time it right. But he's going to back it up just a bit too much, but he's still in the catbird seat at the moment. Side by side across the line. Kent, at the moment, provisionally P4. But all this fighting is burning off their stuff that in turn can hurt them. Meanwhile, John Hagen has fallen back into the clutches of Pressey as Marshall continues to grow as Longenecker way off the racing surface. He will save it again. Hopefully, will not have a similar incident we saw previously. We will not. So Longenecker will lose a couple spots, but he will keep it all in the right direction. There's Marshall. He'll come across the line now, coming to 18 to go. Hagen now in second. Gap of 1.2 respectively. And now Matthew Kent, the lawman, going to try to go low side of Pressey as they'll be side by side here. Galloway, Marshall is going to catch here. As you just saw him on the shot. They will catch at least a little lap traffic. But Marshall will quickly dispose of Galloway. And now this battle we're watching will catch that number 04 machine here. 05, I should say. Hagen, Pressey, Kent, Tucker, 2 through 5, all on your screen. Feather Place also here in the show as Tucker showing some of that speed we saw into the final stage here. Does he have enough time or know-how to be able to make a challenge here? And they've also broken away. Look at that gap between Feather Place and Dixon. It's well over 2 seconds. So top 6 have kind of broken away from the next pack as they race on. 16 laps to go here. Gap is beginning to fall a bit up front as Tucker and Kent are side by side. We'll get a gap check in a second here. I just want to focus on these battles here in a second, let them play out. But we'll focus on John Hagen here for a minute, and we'll check the up to speed. And you can see he's about 7/10 away from Edward Marshall, currently our race leader. So he is making inroads here, and maybe did Tucker burn up his stuff a little bit too much. Meanwhile, Tucker, Pressey, Tucker going to try to go over under that number 94 machine. He wants 3rd place. He's going to try to take 3rd place, and he will presumably get 3rd place here. He will get 3rd place, so put Tucker up to 3rd, Pressey down to 4th. As Pressey trying to hang on those old tires, he's got 2 new tire warriors behind him in Feather Place and Kent. As they will go side by low side here, Feather Place will get clear. I think Pressey's really lost some speed here as he's just trying to make the bleeding hurt. And he will fall down to 6th, end of this train. Meanwhile, up front, Marshall still holding it down, but Steve Tucker trying to get around John Hagen here. Looking at this top 6 at the moment, Marshall has yet to find victory in A squared. Hagen, obviously a defending champion, won 9 times last year, 1 time this season. Tucker has yet to find victory this season. Feather Place, long drought, last win 2023. Matthew Kent, first full-time season in the car, looking to try to make something happen here. Up front battle, playing on. We'll remember history later as Hagen trying to make a move on Marshall, and he's in his preferred line, going through 1 and 2. This could be as smooth as you like. It will be. Hagen to the point. Hagen to the lead. 13 laps to go here. Hagen gonna get some distance. Steve Tucker, Marshall, they'll be side by side for second. I think Marshall may have burned up his stuff a little bit too much. Tucker in a second. Feather Place looking to clear. Tucker, Feather Place second and third. Marshall falling further back now. Race is on. Hagen, Tucker, Feather Place, your top 3 at the moment. Tucker, Feather Place have an advantage on their tires of about 7 laps, if my math is correct. Can they make that deficit work? Meanwhile, the caution were to fly, it could shake things up tremendously. Meanwhile, right there, Kent is going to get around Edward Marshall, so put Kent up the 4th, Marshall down the 5th. Meanwhile, to update you on Pressey, it looks like he has fallen tremendously back here. He is now down to 8th. Dixon and Estes both will clear as Pressey's now beginning to fall back even further. But we're going to keep an eye on the lead here. Tucker and Feather Place, they're kind of in an odd spot here. How hard do you fight? The reason I propose that question is if you fight hard, you may take yourself out of contention as Tucker almost mows down that wall. That's going to give the Jameson Whiskey 34 a chance to make a move on the low side. Again, Hagen on his preferred line through 1 and 2. He's going to probably get a better run off. Feather Place going to clear. Tucker slide on up. As we watch the battle for a second to show you to the intervals, it's only 3 temps between Feather Place and Hagen at the moment. You know Feather Place is hungry. His last win came in 2023 at Gateway. It has been 2 Final Four appearances and well over a year and some change since he's last found victory in the A² Cup Series. He's looking to end that drought here tonight and bring Toyota its first win in well over, I believe, a couple races. Galloway will go another lap down here. Obviously, we have an expert in the chat, Josh Gaiman. Obviously, car is pretty much done as he is providing some good insight in the chat here. One is basically running the top, trying to arrow wash the 34 out and kill any runs he can get. Obviously, you know Hagen knows the name of the game here. It's going to go live. Feather Place going to go low here. Should be worth knowing as well. Our expert right now, Josh Gaiman, thinks unless Feather Place does something funny, which obviously implies something we may see incline to what we saw with Edwards and Johnson, I believe at Chicagoland in 2008, if he decides just not to lift. But obviously we'll talk about that if and when it happens. 7 laps to go. Marshall's elected to come in here. He has to take his final pit stop, and he will. Hagen go high side again. That Jameson Whiskey machine's going to go low. They are going to catch some lap traffic here. As you can see up the road, 3 cars, McDonough, Feemster, and Wright are the 3 in question up the road. Could they be the pick needed to help these cars out? Meanwhile, further back, we'll just quickly covet to it while we got a second. Brian Dixon. There's Brian Dixon. He's gotten around, battling side by side with Matthew Kent. They are battling for 4th. We were going to stay with the lead here. As obviously, we're kind of side by side here. We do not want to cut away from the lead with 6 laps to go. 34 going to drive it in deep again, but we know Hagen's strong on that high side and will drive off again. Oh, they are 3 wide. Sharp, McDonough, Wright, and Feem. So this is going to be a bit of a checkup here. Who will this benefit? Who will this hurt? As Hagen's going to be stuck in some traffic here. Going to go high, going to go low on the radio. You're going to see a good run here by Feather Place. Can this pick work out for Feather Place here? 5 laps to go. As Feather Place is really making 1 and 2 work here for his troubles. He's going to get a little block there by Feemster. Maybe cut off a little arrow. Maybe he'll give him the toe he needs. Still just not enough. As Feather Place and Hagen have broken away from Steve Tucker, bearing any cautions, this is going to be the battle for the lead and the battle for the win. 4 laps to go this time by. Feather Place just needs to get some more speed in 3 and 4 to make 1 and 2 work for him, as it seems like, again, he's a little bit stronger. Hagen high side again. Feather Place going to go low. Just can't get the run he needs, but you can see he gets close. Sharp is there as well, and Hagen going to try to break some toe. Obviously, Sharp is a lap down. Would not be in her best interest to fight this, but at the same point, if the caution were to come out, she'd try to get at least 1 of her laps back here, as obviously she would not be in the lucky dog position. 3 laps to go. Best run we see by Feather Place here. He's going to have a good chance here, sending off into 1. They'll be side by side. What will Feather Place do? How aggressive will he be? Can he make the run work? Side by side they'll be. Run off going to favor the Smeal Racing Designs machine, but Feather Place is still there at the moment. They'll be side by side heading off into 3. Hagen can get the run. Feather Place going to try to feather it up here. Still side by side through the tri-oval. Hagen clear. Feather Place falls back to second. 2 laps to go. Was that the swan song for Feather Place? He may have one more chance if he's lucky. But he's going to have to set up 3 and 4 here to make it work. One more car they will catch. It's going to be the 40 of Elthridge George. Coming around to take the white flag. Does that Jameson Whiskey's machine have anything left? White flag in the air. Hagen sees it. Can he add a second win to his total? Feather Plate's going to, take a different line here. A little bit more high up the groove. George going to get out of the way here. Feather Place has his best chance. How aggressive will he be through 3 and 4? Are we going to have one of those good old little Atlanta finishes? Through 3 and 4, Hagen, Feather Place side by, basically running nose to tail here. It's not going to be enough. As they come up forward, Feather Place tries, but he can't do it. John Hagen wins the Pannell Machine Shop 250. Feather Place will bring it home in second, and Steve Tucker will be in third. Obviously, hat tip for Feather Place for trying, but John Hagen, he's a dominating force. And you can see it here as he will take his second win here tonight, as the chat has mixed feelings about what they've seen here tonight, at least with that finish. Obviously, it was a great finish. Let's not take that away from it, but a mixed feeling of how the outcome was. But still, can't take anything away from that number 1 machine of John Hagen, as he had a strong car all night and obviously survived a very chaotic incident that took a few cars out, and in turn will take a victory here. Jonathan Adams will come and give a little nudge. Looks like Seth Wanzing will also give a little bit of a congratulatory tap. Meanwhile, the team boss also presumably watching it as well while he is having some fun, as John Hagen will give Smeal Race Signs its second win on the year. As Adams, your winner here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Very minute burnout for John Hagen here. Usually he has a little bit more of a over-the-top burnout, which is fine here. Obviously, maybe taking a page out of the Ryan Blaney's book, how you don't whip the horse after you win the race. So as he parks on up here, we will take this opportunity for a second to let people file in to get ready for the interviews. Do not go anywhere. We will hear from the top 3, Hagen, Feather Place, and Tucker shortly here. We'll presumably go 3-1 here, Tucker, Feather Place, Hagen, but we will, at the very least, wait and see here how they all file in. Regardless, it was still a very good race, even if obviously the outcome was a very interesting one, to say the least. But Hagen, again, still, very strong performance he did. So we'll let Hagen Tucker talk for a second here, let him debrief in the waiting room, and then we'll bring in Steve Tucker and hear his thoughts first, as we will bring them all in and ready to go. So we'll get this all piled up here. Just give me 2 seconds here. Make sure everything is good to go audio-wise. Okay, and now we will hear from our 3rd place finisher, Steve Tucker, and we'll hear his thoughts now. This is Steve. This is Kevin, the ABM booth. You got a copy?
Oh, hello.
Hello, indeed. Obviously, you had a very good race there throughout tonight's festivities. Obviously, a good bounce-back week, and overall, you showed a strong performance. But obviously, we got to start at the very beginning of the race, per se, and see how you did. You overall had a all-right qualifying, mid-pack. Did you think you had some good speed in that machine today? Because obviously, your car came to life in the race, from where qualifying it seemed to be lacking a little bit in speed. So did you feel like you had a lot of race pace in that 24 machine?
I mean, usually I'm just not good when it comes to qualifying usually. So that's kind of par for the course as far as my abilities. But throughout the race, I knew I had speed for the most part. I mean, dirty air here is pretty rough, and the track is just so loose, and especially with this car. So it's just a bouncing act, and we never really had a super long run to really kind of test it out, which actually worked better for me because typically long runs tire saving, I'm just awful. So it showed there at the end where I had equal tires with BP Federal Place, but he ended up passing me, and but if I was any better, I would have been up there uh, challenging for the win. But it's all good. P3, I feel pretty good about considering the last two races for me have just been the worst. So I'll take it.
Yep, sometimes when you're looking for a good bounce back race, it's definitely something you can do when definitely getting a good finish, and it definitely is playing out here. Moving further on, obviously you were talking about the dirty air, so kind of pause on that too, because we've seen a lot of cars struggle with the dirty air. So from your perspective, how did that dirty air feel out there? Obviously, a lot of drivers struggled, but from your perspective, what did it feel exactly like?
At least for me, it made turn in really tight, and I just couldn't get it turned, I guess, in the center and off, especially turn two. It was pretty well loose. So it's tough. I mean, if I'm not side by side somebody, I can arc the corner pretty well. But I mean, if you're side by side, the inside lane's just not going to work. So the outside lane worked as a good passing zone, but it killed the tires a little more. So it's kind of that happy medium between like, do you want to go hard or do you want to go soft? So it's just it was all over the place. This version of Atlanta has always treated me pretty well. So yeah, today there were times where I'm like, yeah, I don't know how this is going to turn out, or again, it's hard to pass, right? At the end of the day, and yeah, it all worked. We worked on the right tire strat. I know when that last caution came out, I was about 5 laps to go on fuel, and I didn't want to risk having to come down under green to pit. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just do it now. A couple guys, my teammates and Federal Place obviously did the same thing. So I think Hagen was still out there on older tires, but yeah, man, he's just too damn quick.
Yeah, you definitely can hit the nail on the head there. Sometimes they are just he's very quick out there, but you're at least putting a very a dent in that armor per se. Obviously, you hit the nail on the head about the strategy. I was going to ask that next question about making that call. You made it work. We got a long run, and you talking about that tire strategy there. Obviously, you made it work. You got to the top three, but by the end of the run, were you a little worried you burnt up your stuff, or were you trying to save at least a little bit of it for that last 10 laps? Because it seemed like you lost a little bit of touch to the top two with about 10 laps to go.
Yeah, I wanted to. I kind of get inside my own head sometimes, especially with the tires, right? And I went a little hard too early, just because I wanted to kind of create a gap, have separation. I see the leader right in front of me, right? So it's like, okay, I'll just go and see what happens. Because if you get around him, now you have that super clean air, and that might actually make things a lot better. So I was kind of like, you know what, whatever. I gambled kind of here and there. Even earlier on in stage two, my teammate and I, we stayed out under right before the stage ended. And then right at that restart, the stage ended because the caution came out. So we scored, the top points for that. So I was kind of gambling all race long just to try different things. And in a case like this, yeah, especially at the end, I mean, I knew my tires might burn up. I didn't expect them to burn up that bad because they were pretty bad that last probably 5 or 10 laps. But either way, I mean, top three at the end of the day, I'll take every single every single time. That win's coming. I can feel it.
Yeah, no, definitely. You've shown the pace here, and you definitely show that you can be a driver that can win when the chips are down and definitely put a good effort there to find victory. But moving further on, obviously coming tonight, you were still right. Even though you had bad 2 rounds, you were still comfortably, at least in the points, at least a little bit ahead of some in certain areas. But looking at the calendar ahead here, as I will pull that up, obviously I believe next week is going to be Watkins Glen, but I will make sure of that correctly. It is Watkins Glen, Texas, Martinsville, the next 3 tracks. Obviously 3 different varieties of tracks here. So out of those 3, what track do you think gives you the best chance of finding that 24 car being in victory lane?
I would say Watkins Glen, but I feel like I feel like I'm pretty good with this car on road courses. Road courses in general, I love with a passion. So, but there always seems to be 1 or 2 guys who are better than me when it comes to road course racing in the Cup car. So, I mean, I'd like to think I can win there, but you never know. Texas, for some reason, I really nail that track with this car. So I'd like to think it's going to come from there. Martinsville, we all know, is a crapshoot. You just don't know. But, I mean, Texas, I feel like, is probably going to be our best bet where we're going to get that Harpoon design Chevy in victory lane.
Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, we've gotten to the point of the interview. If there's anyone you want to thank, family, friends, sponsors, whatever, floor is yours. Take it away.
Yeah, definitely want to thank, again, just my sponsors on the car, Harpoon Design, Man, making my car look good. Go and check them out. Harpoondesign.com. Everyone here uses, not racing paint, right? So go and check them out. You can make a paint for you in the Cup cars, maybe even in the new ARCS cars. I know those are really popular now. So hit him up. He works with JGR in the real world. So, I mean, he's reputable, right? So, and everybody else who makes this thing happen, all the admins, you guys yourself, and man, just it's good stuff. Thank you so much.
Well, good talking about Steve Tucker. Obviously, I do feel like that win's coming, and hopefully we can talk to you soon from the top step of the podium. But regardless, you take care. Enjoy St. Patty's Day tomorrow, and have a good rest of your week.
Yes, you too.
And that was our third place finisher, Steve Tucker, and that will move us up nicely to second place. And we'll hear from the driver of the 34 now, Brandon Featherplace. Brandon, this is Kevin the ABN Booth. You got a copy?
I sure do. How's it going?
It's going good here. Obviously, you took that Jameson Whiskey machine and drove it to a decent finish. But obviously, we got to start at the beginning before we can talk about the end. Obviously, qualifying, that thing looked like it was on rails, and this seemed to be a track that fell into your wheelhouse. Am I right in that assumption to assume this is a track you had circled on your calendar to find victory lane?
It was. This track is difficult to drive in these cars, so I I knew that I really needed to be, in tire saving mode and to kind of let people kind of run their own race. Um, and for me, I just I enjoy the flow of this track. I like tracks like this, so for me, I was pretty excited for this one.
Obviously, we'll move further on here. We saw in the second stage, we saw an incident. I believe, I'll honestly remember some of the details, but we saw you go sideways in stage 2 and basically threw your stage 2 out the window. So when it came to that point and you obviously kind of got knocked down there, did that change any elements of strategy? Did that change what you were thinking and how to get back and rebound quite nicely?
Um, I have to go back and watch the replay. I don't know if Kent doored me by accident or if we just came together right there, but um, it really just kind of made me angry, and so I started driving angry.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, at that point, I'm thinking to myself, I've been waiting for this race. I finally get here, and now I'm going to get doored down through the grass. So I need to make something happen. And so, with the help of Brian Dixon and my other teammates, we kind of come up with a plan to flip stages and to kind of make our pit strats just right. So
Mm-hmm.
that's it is what it is, I guess, at this point.
Speaking of obviously those pit strategies we talked about, obviously we talked a little about Steve Tucker. You and obviously him were on the same strategy. So coming in at I believe 134 with about 30 to go, take us through the thought process of that call, because obviously there was a chance more cautions would come. I'd assume the strategy was at least agreed to run hard. If another caution comes out, I'd assume you still have another set left. So take us through that thought process of coming at that time, and what was the mindset of doing it, and what was the strategy after doing it?
For me in particular, I knew that the golden number was 30. So on fuel, we could run roughly about 30 laps, maybe a little more, a little less, depending on where you were in the field. So I knew that 30 to go was the magic number. And so I had one set of tires left, and it is what it is. You just got to pit, take them, and you've already made your bed, so just lay in it and go. And I think a lot of us kind of had that mindset. I knew Hagen had stopped a little bit early, so I was hoping that he wouldn't make it on fuel. I was hoping that I would be able to push him a little hard to keep him from being where he was at. But he was able to save enough fuel there.
Yeah, he was, and he did make it work, but obviously still a good run for you. And we obviously got to talk about that battle with Hagen coming to the line there. Obviously, the last 10 laps, it was you and Hagen fighting, and it seemed to go with 3 to go. You had that last lunge, and I know some of the drivers in the chat, or at least the chat was kind of firing off, that maybe you've been a bit more aggressive. Maybe you should have tried a little harder. I'm not saying a little harder. You were trying very hard. But I mean in the sense maybe slide jobbing up, trying an all or nothing move. Take us through that last battle there with 10 to go there in your mindset. Because obviously you want to finish well, get points, but I know that win is probably itching at you a little bit. You want to find victory. So take us to that last battle with Hagen from your perspective of those last 10 laps.
Yeah, it does. Winning in A squared is definitely something that's aggravating me. Just seemed to be out of reach. It's been a while since I've won, so when I seen that pink number 1, I thought, you know what, it's time to go get it. And, I drove, we ran up on a lot of those lap cars right there. And, we're just kind of hollering over the radio, you guys need to pick a lane because we're battling for position right now. It's battling for the lead. And I just, I was really giving it everything that this Toyota had, but he had a better drive off. So I was able to get in and through the center of the corner better than him, but I wasn't willing to put both of us in the grandstands or in the fence for it. So, it was what it was. I kind of just waited for that mistake. He made a mistake, and then I would make a mistake. So I just really just kind of dug for everything that it was worth, and unfortunately just came up a little bit short.
Regardless, it was still a heroic effort, and it was still a great drive to watch. Obviously, you had me on the edge of my seat, and a lot of people on the edge of the seat watching this at home. But obviously, looking ahead here, obviously still a great finish, going to take those points and put it to the bank. But looking at the future, we got Watkins Glen, Texas, Martinsville the next 3 weeks. Out of those 3 tracks, what do you think's the best chance of finding that 34 in victory lane?
I like road courses, but I don't think I'm the best one here. We have a lot of really fast road course drivers in this field. So I'm going to be circling Texas, I believe. It's similar to this, kind of. So it's got a decent flow to it.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we can get this 34 finally to victory lane in Texas.
Yeah, it's definitely a long time coming. We'll have to see if you can fulfill on that prophecy. But obviously, getting to the point of the program, does anyone want to thank family, friends, sponsors, whatever? Floor is yours. Take it away.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, I just want to thank everyone who watches this broadcast, whether you're rooting for me or anyone else. It means a lot to us for people to watch this. So thank you to everyone, and thanks to Bowie Esports, all the drivers, everyone that helps us week in and week out. Thanks to you, to the broadcast, ABN, for all that you guys do. I can't wait to go back and watch it. And we will go get them next week.
Yeah, it's a positive outlook to have, and we'll see if you can. But regardless, obviously, with the Irish whiskey scheme, hopefully you enjoy St. Paddy's Day tomorrow. And regardless, have a good rest of your week, and we'll be talking to you hopefully soon.
Can't wait. Thank you very much.
And that was our second place finisher, Brandon Featherplace. And that leaves us with one driver to go. He is the number 1. He is the winner. The only thing is his win total this season does not match the number. It's John Hagan, second win of the year. We'll hear from him now. John, this is Kevin, the ABN booth. You got a copy?
What's up, Kevin?
You seem all smiles here, as you are definitely smiles as you found victory. But we got to start at the beginning here again and talk about what happened at the beginning. So obviously qualifying, you qualified decently well. And in the first stage, at the very least, and second stage, you seemed very strong. So was that one on rails like it seemed like it was?
The runs being so short with the 50% fuel, it's a game of cat and mouse. Who wants to burn their stuff up and who wants to save it? So I was doing both.
Mm-hmm.
I would put myself in a position to save, get myself in clean air out front so I could save. And if somebody wants to come challenge, like I let Alyssa and a couple other people by early in the runs just because I knew they were burning their stuff up. And 10, 15 to go on the fuel or in the stage, I'd turn the switch on, go drive right by them. So it's a little bit of both, just saving, chilling, going, just working with what you got.
Yeah, sometimes that's all you can do is work what you got and make it work. Obviously, speaking of the cat-mouse games, we talked about Steve Tuck with us, and I'll ask this one to you as well. Tires seem to be the name of the game. Could you make a 2-tire strategy work or no tires at all? Or is it every time a pit stop open, you had to be on 4 tires, you want any chance of moving forward?
With us having exactly the number of tire sets that you need to finish the race on fuel, I never really saw an opportunity to take 2 tires. I obviously expected more green flag running that we really didn't get, so 2 tires definitely could have worked. I mean, yeah, 2 tires could have worked. I was never going to take no tires. I guess that last run, I was at like a 5 or 6 lap tire disadvantage to the guys behind me, and that was, again, I super saved my stuff. I was also half a lap short on fuel to start the run, so I was saving fuel and tires for the first half of that final green run to the checker.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, 2 tires definitely could have worked, not for a full 30-lap run, but for a situation like if we got a caution with 15 to go, yeah, you could do 2. Or if we got a caution with 12 to go in a stage and he had an extra set, yeah, you could do 2. So, I mean, it was possible. It just wasn't plausible.
Yeah, we saw Preston and a few other drivers try it, and it worked to different degrees, but obviously 4 tires seemed to be the name of the game. Talking about, obviously, final, we got to talk about the incident question. Obviously, when you took your final pit stop, and we saw that major accident happen when Longenecker went down, got in the game, and I guess even though you weren't, I think you were ahead of the incident question, thoughts on it and perspectives, it almost looked like it could have been night for the number 1 machine if you weren't careful.
That was exactly what I was doing when I had those fresh tires and I was right on the edge of the fuel window. I was saving fuel and being careful on the tires and around traffic. And squirrels were squirrel, I guess. I don't know. That's what you get when you're back in that pack. So I was just being calm, and I guess I got lucky that I was in front of all that. I saw it in my mirror, and it looked massive. So I have yet to watch the replay, but it definitely looked massive in my mirror.
Well, it was 61. It totaled the 61's car, and the 00 ended up getting flipped, so it was massive, like you did end up saying as well. So overall, survived it, and you kept piling on, and then eventually you cycled out towards the front, and we'll kind of go through the final zone here, because obviously you went through the last restart. Edward Marshall drove away. I'm going to assume it was, again, element of save your stuff, let him come back to you. And then with 10 to go, you were in a battle with Featherplay. So kind of a 2-part question here. Thoughts on trying to chase down Marshall, and then in turn, your battle with Featherplay and your duel, and how exciting was that from your perspective? It looked like it was a neck of a battle here. I want to know your thoughts as well on that battle between the two of you.
So I'll start out in the beginning of the run where I restarted second, and Marshall just drove away. I knew that I pit 2 laps short of the window, and I knew he had pit before me, so he was even shorter to the window. So as soon as he took off and started going, I'm like, yep, don't even have to worry about him. He's going to be short on fuel. He's going to burn his stuff up. He's going to come back to me either way. So that was my thought when he drove out. Save my stuff, save my fuel, and just sit. Mm-hmm. And in my mirror, all those fresher, like 5-6 lap fresher tires were fighting for track position with the same people that stayed out with me and with themselves. And so that was a great opportunity to get my tires back to even to them, because they were using their stuff up to move up, and I could just sit there, save tire, save the fuel that I needed. BP did a good job getting through there, saving tire and passing all the traffic. So shout out to him. I just put it on the fence and said, if you're going to pass me, do it the hard way. That's pretty much what happened. I saw it in my mirror, saw him coming, and was like, yep, nothing easy.
Yep, you're correctly correct. Obviously, we saw a few drivers, people in the chat talk lewd to the aero wash. You were just basically, we saw you make that high line work, and I said it more than once. You ripped it around 1 and 2, and you basically sent the message, if you're going to go around me, find another way. And yeah, you ticked your line. That's what you get for being the leader. You can pick the line, and you controlled the pace, and it worked out for you quite nicely and brought you to victory lane. Looking further on, though, obviously second win of the year. If there's any question marks, you not making the playoffs, those are thoroughly dashed with the second win. Now, looking ahead, we have Watkins Glen, Texas, and Martinsville. I asked the previous 2 drivers that question. I'll ask you the same as well. What is the best chance out of those 3 tracks to see that number 1 get its 3rd win of the year?
Any of them. I have come into my own as a road course racer. I think I've done pretty well. So I really love road course racing now. I finally have it figured out. I finally have it down. I'm looking forward to Watkins Glen. Texas holds close to my heart. It's where I was when I was in the Army, and it's like a second home. So it's almost a home track race for me, and I always love doing well there. In Martinsville, that's all about being precise and perfect. And 2 things that you need for me to be precise and perfect, you got it. So I like any of those races. I'm cool with any of them.
Well, I think at the very least that sends a little shiver down the rest of the field's spine hearing that news, that you feel confident all 3. But we'll have to see if the prophecy is fulfilled over the next 3 weeks. But regardless, if there's anyone you want to thank, family, friends, sponsors, whatever, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Free Connor Knowlton. I'm just kidding. Shout out my teammates at SRD Motorsports, Connor Knowlton, Matt, Riley, and the owner, John. Appreciate them running and just being there to talk to when we're through these races and through these cautions. Shout out all the A Squared admins that do their greatest to put on this league week in, week out. I know I throw a fit, but your work is always appreciated. Shout out you, Kevin, and everybody else at ABN that makes these broadcasts possible. I appreciate y'all and the great production work that y'all do for the broadcast. Shout out my beautiful girlfriend for putting up with me while I race and I yell and I'm loud. So shout out her. And thank you. We'll go get him next week.
Yeah, good eyes to have. Obviously, you took a half a second there for your girlfriend. I was worried it was going to end up on the couch if you waited any longer there. But regardless, it's been great talking to you. Enjoy your St. Paddy's Day tomorrow, and we'll probably be talking for the end of the season. But regardless, take care. Have a good rest of your week.
Thank you.
And that was our race winner, John Hagan. And with that will bring our interviews to a close. So before we get on out of here, we have to take a quick look at how the drivers resulted out here and see how they ended up finishing out. So we'll take a look here again. John Hagan will be your race winner here, as I've got to get the one more thing off the screen there so it's not cluttering the screen. Hold on, we'll have to take that off for a second. Take that off, and then take that off, and then take that off, and then we'll go to the results. So John Hagan takes victory here in the Pannell's Machine Shop 250. Brandon Featherplace brings it home in second. Hard-fought battle for the 34. It's obviously going to sting a little bit, but he's definitely a driver that will find his way back to victory lane before the year ends. Steve Tucker, third, another great driver. Keep an eye on him, along with Brian Dixon. And Toby Estes. We did not say much about him and Vincenzo Gavazzi throughout tonight's broadcast, but look at Gavazzi, 31st to 6th. Toby Estes, also top 10 car throughout most of the night, just consistently stayed there, and they were rewarded with their consistency for a 5th. Well, in Estes' case, consistency. With Ikavazzi's speed, he'll get a P6 for his troubles. Matthew Kent, 7th. James Kerr, another great drive. Good bounce-back race for him. He'll finish 8th. Jonathan Ems, 9th. Chris Fleming, our 500 winner, will finish top 10. Pressy, 11th. Oberstadt, 12th. Lawrence, 13th. Austin Mongold filling in for Cody Pannell. He'll be 14th. We'll see him presumably next week back in an open car trying to make the field again. But obviously this is a good step in the right direction for the driver of the 28. Well, Austin Mongold, who's filling in for the 20, I should say. Marshall Harris rounds out the top 15. Ryan Pannell took a long job to get back on the lead lap, and he'll finish back on the lead lap 16th. Dale Markowski, I think, got in some trouble late. He'll finish 17th, barely on the lead lap. Alfred George, 18th. David Wright, 19th. Edward Marshall, 20th. Ethan Wood, 21st. Elliot Longenecker, 22nd. Nathan LaJoy, 23rd. Peltier Sharp, what could have been, but she had a good short-run car, just couldn't find that run speed and got in those troubles. She'll be 24th. Kevin Feemster, 25th. Connor McDonough, 26th. Brian Johnson, 27th. Blake Galloway, 28th. And as we move on to the next page, we'll presumably get into the drivers that did not finish. Josh Battles, 29th. Seth Wansing, 30th. And then Matt Verdon, 31st. Even though I believe he retired, he'll still finish ahead of Davey Hawk, who was damaged, heavily damaged, came back and tracked multiple down. He'll be 32nd. Then the retirement to Josh Gaiman, our pole sitter. Again, must stink going from pole, not finishing this race, but he's definitely a driver that will find victory lane before this season ends. Tommy Withers, last week's race winner, will have to bounce back. Michael Joy, 35th. Bren Roberts, 36th. Ross Bax, 37th. Gavin Hudspeth, 38th. Chris Goins, 30th, I should say. Hudspeth, 39th. Jared Merchant, 40th. Jeremy Braille, last of the cars that took the flag. First lap incident, looking to go 2 laps next week. He'll be 41st. Briley Wright, 42nd, did not take the flag, and he'll be joined by Thomas Melnick Holland, who also didn't take the flag in 43rd. So that is going to be that tonight for the results, as we'll delete that. And we obviously did talk about on the broadcast that next week is going to be Watkins Glen. No themery next week. Obviously, there's nothing on the card, so car drivers will run whatever pleases them. Obviously, they're not required to run the themes, but sometimes they will elect to do so during races. But they will elect to run whatever they like next week as we head to Central New York in my backyard for Watkins Glen, March 23rd, here on ABN Studios YouTube channel, here at 7 o'clock Eastern is when the stream starts. 7:05 is when we'll go live, and we will see who can be the fastest of the drivers that go left and right for the first of 3 road courses this season, 2 in the regular season, 1 also in the playoffs, and we'll see who can maybe join the Winners Club or maybe add a second win to their name. But we'll have to deal with that next week. But regardless, until we get to then, my name is Kevin Young. I thank you for joining me here on this journey. It's been a fun broadcast. Like I told all the drivers, anyone left watching, hopefully you also enjoy your St. Paddy's Day weekend and you have fun. Obviously, you've already had fun, but have a little extra fun. Have a nice little corned beef and cabbage meal tomorrow in honor of the St. Pat. But till then, hopefully you join us next week. But then, take care and have a good rest of your evening, all of you watching.